Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Sweet Space Podcast. Apologies if my voice sounds extremely weird. I am recording this in the cold room of my house, and I am purposefully making my voice lower and quieter than usual because everyone is doing something somewhere in this house. We're getting ready for a massive trip tomorrow, so I can't really blame them. But it doesn't leave me with a lot of options for recording. Um, but I decided I was going to fit in this month's, well, technically it's next month's when I'm recording this, but the August Sweet Space podcast episode. I figured I'd just throw this in here with a quick recording. And for the third time in a row, we have with us American Elephant, aka Kevin, aka Elephant Power Productions, who will introduce himself right about now. That is your cue.
How's it going? All right, yeah. How's it going, everyone? I'm American Elephant. Call me Kevin, as he just said. I'm both an animator and a video essay creator on this platform. I'm still working on both. It's just currently I got a job working on a short film, so I've been busy with that a bit recently. But yeah, still working on currently just earlier finished editing a bit for my next video, which should be out on either the second to last or last Friday of August. So that should be a lot of fun. I hope I can deliver something funny but interesting given the subject. Yeah, if you're interested in my content, yeah, be excited for Halloween because that one I'm really gonna haul ass on in terms of effort,
Yeah,
I
I'm
hope.
excited for this Halloween video because you keep hyping it up, and
I'm
I'm like,
I'm
what is
really
this man
excited.
cooking?
I'm really excited to work on it. Speaking of, I probably gotta just finally download DaVinci Resolve soon if I really want to make the switch, and then just record everything because I
Yes,
I
DaVinci
really gotta
Resolve the
like
goat.
once I'm moved out and and in September I get started. It's like okay, haul ass because this is gonna be a friggin' nightmare. It's basically two videos worth of script compared to the average length of my other videos. So definitely definitely looking to make that one as concise and tight as possible. Um but yeah, speaking of I guess speaking
Don't
of
don't mind
animation,
don't mind my background noise. I'm trying to get into a relatively comfortable position in this cold room. It's all
oh yeah,
cold
it's
walls,
whatever.
so there's only so much you can really do.
Completely fair. It's the opposite on my end. I am glad to be inside right now. It is 101 today
Oh, I'm
in
inside.
Texas.
This is a room in the house. It's
Oh yeah,
like the least comfortable room you could possibly be in.
yeah. I was just making a contrast because it's hot outside on my end and it's cold on Noah's end. So
Yeah, I
technically
mean, this
something.
is honestly kind of a reprieve from the summer heat because I don't know if you guys know this, even in Canada, it gets stupid hot during the summer. You'd think not,
Yeah,
but it just does. We get hit with like at least a heat wave per year at this point.
sounds about right. Every place is like, oh, that the heat would never affect here. Never assume that.
Exactly, exactly.
uh, and on that
I
note,
ruined your
do we
segue,
want
man. I'm sorry. Whoa,
do we?
wait. I got
It's
a better
okay.
one. I got a better one. Every country says the honeymoon wouldn't fail here until it does. That's a
Right.
clever
Yeah.
reference.
Speaking of said reference, shall we ease into the what our topic, so to speak?
Right, yeah. So, the last couple episodes that we recorded were both about superhero movies. One of them was just a broad thing about the MCU and like pushing back on the whole like slop categorization. And then we decided to just talk about the Superman movie for a long time because that movie is so goddamn peak. Um,
Correct.
and this episode, we are going to be talking about two movies, actually. One of them is, you might expect this one. One of them is the much anticipated Fantastic Four First Steps from the MCU. And the other one is technically not, well, you know what? I'm going to call it a superhero movie because it does involve heroes who are super in some manner. So, by a
Yeah,
very thin margin, it fits the qualifications. Therefore, I'm going to
I think
count
it.
it.
Yeah, I think it fits. If this honestly, if the story of that film were like a friggin' like some kind of spin-off comic for like some X-Men or Ninja characters or something, I could be like, oh yeah, that would be turned into a superhero thing at
I
some
mean,
point.
Moon Girl and
Or
Devil Dinosaur is a Marvel thing, and I don't usually think of it as a Marvel thing because it feels like it's self-contained cartoon to me. Um,
yeah, it's very much it's so funny because the show is in its own universe, but it like aesthetically takes some things from the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
doesn't
So it
Sam
almost feels
Wilson like
like
show up like once or twice, like as Captain America?
yeah. There's quick cameos from Sam as and he looks like he does in the MCU or at least Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So yeah, it honestly that's the cameo I want in Secret Wars. I want to see Moon Girl. Everybody's talking about like, oh, Toby Spider Man
Real,
and
real.
like the old X-Men. I'm like, give me Moon Girl and Beyonder. All right, give me Devil Dinosaur and Kid
Moon
Krieger.
Girl, I
Like,
need you
let
to distract Kang.
it, honestly, I could see that being. The show could probably make fun of that line if it were to get a third season. Oh wait.
Oh man,
um.
yeah, I still haven't even watched that show yet, but I got it at some point. It's good. I'm sure it's gonna
It's
be good.
it's yeah, it's so good. And
But
speaking of
anyway,
so
speaking
good,
of,
we
speaking of, wait, sorry, you go.
yeah, speaking of so good and animation, we have yeah, K-pop Demon Hunters, which has just taken the world by storm. Like this is now the most successful animated Netflix film of all time. Like millions of watchers and listeners to the soundtrack and a fandom blowing up overnight despite the I guess kind of shadow drop of the film because I've watched a few reviews now where
Yeah,
people
there
were like,
wasn't a lot of marketing for it. The actor for
yeah,
Kima did do a bit of marketing, and he's the same guy who plays the front man in Squid Game. So
huh.
he's got some fairly high profile stuff. I mean, Squid
Yeah,
Game
but
is high profile since the first season, but yeah.
Drew, at this still like it I almost want like to me this is very similar to I'm trying to honestly I saw something earlier no wait, actually I should save that for later. We're going to discuss this. But yeah, in terms of like the success of this movie, I don't think anybody knew quite how big it was going to be. In just
No,
mind
no.
you, it's only a month old I think at this point in terms
Yeah,
of
it came
release.
out like
So
I think late June.
yeah, maybe. Yeah, either late
It's a
June or
crazy
July.
young movie. No, it didn't
Oh,
come out in
not late.
July. I think it was June.
Not late. My brain thought we were in August for a second. Son of a. Anyway, um, yeah. So I'm
I mean, we're almost
honestly,
there, you know. We have 4 hours left on my end. 5 on yours,
yeah,
roughly.
right. So going into this movie, I will say I basically knew nothing about it beyond okay. There's this title of the movie. There's a certain animal sidekick in it. That's basically it. Like that was
Oh
the
yeah, this is
most
going to
of
be
my
spoilers,
knowledge.
by the way. I mean, that should probably be
Oh yeah,
obvious,
yeah.
but
Spoilers for K-pop Demon Hunters and Fantastic Four First Steps, both of them. They're
yep,
big
yep. We're going to
spoilers
be
for
talking
both.
about both, and we're going to be doing it in a bit of a boomerang style, where we kind of go back and forth between the movies.
Right, yeah. So with this move, honestly, it's kind of the opposite in this case because with K-pop Demon Hunters again, I basically had no expectations beyond some cool screenshots and the title and people saying it was good. I had high expectations, but I didn't know much of like what I was getting myself in for. With Fantastic Four First Steps, on the other hand, I did have an idea of what I was in for, or what they were promising, at least from the trailers, and I had fingers crossed on that one, given the success rate of the Fantastic Four in movies over the decades, because it has been rough for Marvel's first family with
It hasn't
a
been fantastic.
no, certainly not. There was a I think Josh Corman or Roger
Roger
Corman. I
Roger
think that
Corman.
yeah, the Roger Corman film was produced, but then never released technically due to some weird stuff. And even when it was released, it was charming, but there's still a lot of flaws with it. Um, then there was the 2005 film, which a lot of people have looked back on fondly, but a lot of people still think isn't that good. Then there was the sequel, Rise of the Silver Surfer, which was better, but not by much. So it's kind of in this weird limbo, I think, culturally, where people remember Silver Surfer. Like, people know who he is, relatively speaking, but, like, the movie itself just gets lost in the shuffle. And
And then
then, oh god,
we don't even want to talk about this next one, bro.
Fant Four Stick, as many have called the 2015 Fantastic Four film. Thank you, movie poster editors. Oh god, I as somebody, mind you, before First Steps, that was the only Fantastic Four film I had seen. And it is, mind you, also when I watched this for the first time, I watched it on a DVD player. Just to put that in perspective. It was atrocious. It was so boring, so uninteresting, so badly lit and visually dull and drab. The characters were so lifeless. The score, I don't even remember having any impact. The effects were sometimes good, but relatively standard. Nothing that amazing or interesting. And then don't even get me started on Doom. Doom is just like, look, I will say, regardless of if we think Robert Downey Jr. is a miscast or not, there is no way whatever they do with Doom in the next Avengers movies is going to be worse than Fant Four Stick. Because I at least believe this one will have half the sauce of the comic version to a degree. Unlike Fant Four Stick, which just ugh. Needless to say, the only thing about that movie culturally that has stuck around and had an impact is the one friggin' meme. And
Yeah,
rightfully so.
that's the only thing that's worth any value in that fucking movie, except I guess some of the actors. Like,
Yeah, it's
I mean, it's a shame
it's
because some
definitely
legitimately good actors who could have given good performances as those characters were wasted. Like Michael B. Jordan as Johnny Storm is not at all a bad idea. It's just why waste him for that movie, bro?
exactly. Yeah, it's I can't believe the way Deadpool and Wolverine treated Human Torch is better than what Fan Four Stick did. And if you watch that movie, like oh my gosh. Yeah, it's so needless to
Oh
say,
man, this is such a tangent, but like I the joke in Deadpool and Wolverine where they reveal that he literally actually said all of those things like at the end, like the Chris Evans Human Torch, that had me dying because the whole movie you were led to believe that Deadpool just made that the fuck up, and then it actually turned out to have happened.
and it's so funny. It's
And the
funny.
fact that he
I
completely remembered every single word too, like he rehearsed it, like bro stored all the words in his mind and just fucking repeated them verbatim.
he had perfect Taskmaster photographic memory on every single word that left Johnny's. I especially love the bit of like the oh you crazy girl. That's right, Wade. Like he just like they're just that on good terms with each other as they yap. And then the friggin' and you can quote me on that. Okay, gotcha, fuckface. Like it. What a great bit. What a great way to end a good joke post credit gag for that movie. Ugh. But yeah.
Yeah.
So needless to say, a lot of expectations on my end, yet also not a ton going into both First Steps and K-pop Demon Hunters. And I'm happy to say, I dug both. I loved these movies and I am so glad with what they have been meaning to people and like sparking in terms of fandom excitement and joy and creativity. These films are just really these were I really am glad that these movies came out within a short distance of each other because if you're a superhero fan and you want the Fantastic Four to be done well, you win with First Steps. But then if you're an animation person and you're looking for something because I don't know, take your pick. Lack of animated movies, lack of interesting animated movies, lack of good Disney movies, or what have you. This movie fits. And I actually will say, I'm gonna try. One thing I don't want to do in this, at least on my end, I don't want to compare this movie to any Disney animated films or Pixar and say
Yeah, I've been
like
seeing a lot of that, and it's super annoying. I'm already seeing stuff that like arbitrarily compares like K-pop Demon Hunters to Elio, as if those two movies are like somehow supposed to be
right,
competitors. I don't know. Like Elio was
what
released
compare
earlier, and Elio is a completely different type of movie from K-pop Demon Hunters. It's not just because both of them are animated and you think one of them is better than the other. Like, doesn't mean that they're
right,
competitors, and you have to like flaunt one over the other. Now, I
ex-
mind you, I haven't watched Elio, but like from everything I've
Uh,
heard, it's nothing like K-pop Demon Hunters, so it makes no sense to compare them. And it also
no,
seems pointless to just be like, I don't know. I mean, I
to
get
me
the
it's
point that's being made where it's like, oh, Pixar should make more like really, really good original movies, but like,
to
eh,
me it's like comparing Mitchells versus the like let's look back to 2021. And that
right,
year
yeah.
the Mitchells versus the Machines and Luca came out.
Not to mention
And
Encanto.
yes, but in this case, so we had a Sony movie and a Pixar movie released within a similar window around summer. The I did not see people comparing those films back then. But imagine if people did the way people are probably doing it right now. Like it's and also when a lot of people talk about Elio, I've noticed they make it about, the lack of marketing or the way it's losing money or the people who still try to pretend there's a bean mouth style. I might
Which
just
is
make a
also in
video on
K-pop
that.
Demon Hunters to an extent.
Yeah.
just,
Yeah,
just
agreed.
in
Oh
case
yeah, you're
someone
correct. Absolutely.
like,
It's such a non-existent, it's such a dumb way to
yeah,
criticize that.
Bean
It's
Mope
literally
haters
just
are gonna be mad when I point that out, but it's true.
yes. But yeah, like let's say people compared the Mitchells versus the Machines to Luca. It's like why? These movies are not the same. It like one is like yes, they might have some elements that maybe overlap thematically in terms of, it like being yourself maybe, but it's I don't know, it to me it's just kind of silly like a movie about a family fighting the robot apocalypse versus a story of a fish boy and his fish boyfriend, I mean friend, in a little Italian water town. Like, yeah,
Yeah, it's not
totally.
the same type of movie. It's kind of like it's kind of like I'm not saying that you can't have like a preference between them, obviously. It's just I don't think
True.
one of them should be held to the standard of the other here. Like
Yeah.
because
It's
movies because how I judge movies is this the best version of the movie it's clearly trying to be? Um like with K-pop Demon Hunters, I'm like, is this the best K-pop demon fighting movie that could exist or is it a really good one? More likely. And I'd say yes to that, but I wouldn't call it the best movie about a guy who has to become ambassador to a bunch of alien civilizations. And shenanigans because it's not trying to be that, and vice versa. You know,
right.
like
Yeah.
it's
So
really dumb.
it's
It's like trying to argue that Breaking Bad is inferior to The Office because it's not as good of a sitcom as The Office or some shit. Like it's not
right.
trying to be. Maybe that's not the best example because Breaking Bad also has some pretty comedic undertones, but it's not the same type of show as The
If
Office.
anything, I feel like it'd be like The Office isn't like Breaking Bad, so it's not a masterpiece. It's like you do realize these are different genres, right? That's
Yeah,
to to me, that's what feels more likely because that happens more often than not, where like the intentionally comedic or like heartfelt or goofier stuff gets compared to the serious stuff and say, well, you're goofy, so you're not real cinema or good television.
yeah,
It's
and I
like,
mean, with animation, I feel like everyone has this idea that like all animation is the same genre or in the same category somehow, which is why we get comparisons like this. Like instead of
right,
comparing
exactly.
like one animated movie to a much more similar live action movie, we inherently have this fucking bizarre segregation between them where like we can only compare animation to other animation, even if the
Right.
plots like
And
just don't match. Like it's
for sure. And make
like
no
if you want to
mistake,
talk about like if you want to talk about like a movie that K-pop Demon Hunters like compares to, I mean, I don't have a good example, but it's not Elio. It's more likely any
I
number of live action movies before it's Elio. Like,
I wouldn't even I know a lot of people obviously because this film in the animation has instances of the slightly lowered frame rate. Obviously Spider-Verse comparisons were going to be
oh my
drawn, especially
god.
because it's made by Sony.
Yeah,
Here's
you're
the
right. It's
thing.
made by Sony.
Both are excellently animated films with very popping, distinct, exciting types of art direction and style and animation execution. That said, this movie is not Spider-Verse. And while I'm
It's
here,
not. It has a
Spider
completely different creative vision.
right, and Spider-Verse
Sorry.
is not this movie or Puss in Boots: The Last Wish or TMNT Mutant Mayhem or The Wild Robot or any other stylized animated film. they're all their own thing. Like they're all doing the honestly, I think the only animated film I can think of that's like the Spider-Verse style other than Spider-Verse would be the Netflix movie Intergalactic, which I have not seen yet, so I can't judge that. But from what I've seen off the trailers and the character models and the lighting, I'm like, oh, this feels like the casual New York scenes in Spider-Verse. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
that's the
the
only
thing
film I
is with
can think of.
Spider-Verse, it's stylized to look like a comic book, and with something like Puss in Boots, it's stylized to look a bit like a painting. With the Mitchells versus the
Yeah,
Machines, there's also kind of like a painterly aesthetic, but it's more like, I don't know, I don't want to say amateur. It's more like something that like an 18-year-old like just entered college kid like Katie would draw. It's meant to be evocative of the main character, and you'll see that
right.
these sorts of like animation quirks and styles exist in all these movies. Like this one, K-pop Demon Hunters, is obviously like modeled after K-pop and Korean culture, and there's elements of that in the animation itself. I mean,
Yeah,
Maggie Kang is the director, or not the director, the co-director with Chris Appelhans, but basically,
yeah.
I'd say broadly the creator. And she actually is a Korean Canadian. So shout out to us.
Nice.
Indirectly,
And
we
yeah,
are responsible for this movie. It's one of
I
the
also have to
few good things that I can be proud of my country for.
I also have to say as well with in regards to the directors actually, I've also checked I checked this earlier. Yeah, Chris the other director Chris Appelhans is he also previously directed a animated movie called Wish Dragon
That's
for
true, yeah.
Netflix. And must say, I have seen Wish Dragon. It's not the greatest movie ever made. I wouldn't call it amazing, but I think it's pretty good for what it's going for. It's a very fun, relaxing movie. It's got some decent comedy. The dynamic between the main character and the dragon is great. It's very entertaining, and the animation is
The main
hilariously
thing that I've
expressive.
seen people talk about that's really good about that movie is the kind of the drama in the third act with the main character and that friend that they had to they had to go their separate ways because of how their lives turned out. Like she's from a rich family and stuff.
Yeah, it's also interesting because they don't have the main characters like end up in a romantic relationship.
Yeah,
Like you
no, yeah.
could kind
Apparently
of
they're just
infer
like
it.
platonic friends or something,
Yeah,
or at
you
least
could kind of
canonically
infer
are.
it might right. It when the movie ends, you could probably see like, oh, if they made a sequel, maybe they'd go that direction. But in just the movie as is, they're just it's about like somebody trying to reconnect with a friend as opposed to get the girl, which is technically a fun subversion because the movie is very similar plot wise to Aladdin in some ways. So yeah,
Yeah,
but enough comparisons and discussions of the other movies for the moment. We're here for I just wanted to congratulate him because I know Wish Dragon kind of got a mixed reception. So it's nice to see a director from that come back into the fold with another animated movie release that not only embraces like Southeast with East Asian culture, but also is a big hit in this case
oh
and
yeah,
is
this
even
movie has
more
like maybe half the views of Red Notice, which is the biggest movie in Netflix history. I don't know why that movie is not that good. It is like a very
I think
passable action flick.
I saw a video. I think it's because one, there were celebrities in it, and two,
Well,
I
yeah,
saw
that's
I
probably part
saw
of it.
I saw a bit of a video by Nando V Movies where he talked about how like I think people watched this movie on accident because it was similar to another movie in terms of title. I could be wrong, but that might have something to do with it.
So
Anyway,
I so that might actually be referring to Red One because Red One came out like last year and that also has Dwayne Johnson in it and it also which Red Notice also has Dwayne Johnson in it and that's like the biggest movie in
right.
Netflix history. It's the one thing it's fucking known for because nobody
Yeah.
remembers anything from that movie besides the fact that it has stats on its side. Um,
Yeah.
and
For some
so
reason.
Red One seems to also have. I think there was a confusion about Red One and Red Notice. That's probably where that's coming from. Um, but anyway, moving on from Red One. I mean, the cinematic
Right.
masterpiece that is Red One has to be discussed another time. Not there's just not enough time in this podcast. Um,
Right. So I guess
um,
yeah, where do we begin sort of between the two?
yeah.
Do we want to start with
Uh,
like story or characters? I don't really have a specificity in mind.
Yeah, I guess we can start with the story, and or at least the basic like framework of the story. I'll do a little bit more of a prelude about how I found out about these movies because when I was a
Okay.
kid, I didn't really know much about the Fantastic Four, although I did know who the Silver Surfer was. I think we had a figurine of him at some point. Like my dad has a bunch of like old comic stuff kind of lying around. And I probably
See.
did watch the two 2000s Fantastic Four movies like at some point, but I don't remember like anything from them. I'd never watched Fan Four Stick, which is probably for the best. And I mean, I went in here with I guess decently high expectations because I heard it was good. And I liked the casting for the most part, and I liked what I saw in the trailers. I'm like, okay, I'll let you cook. This had come recently off the high of Thunderbolts, which I thought was like a great movie for Marvel. Um, and I was like, okay, you know what? You got my attention. Let's see if you can finally pull off this Fantastic Four thing, because the main thing I knew about the Fantastic Four were that its previous movies were not exactly hits with everyone.
Oh.
Um, so I'm going in. I'm like, okay, let's see what we got. And I watched it like a couple days ago. I can confidently say this is a very very good movie. I'd even call it great. Dare I say it?
Yeah.
I really
Yeah.
vibed with
You
it.
wrote.
And as for K-pop Demon Hunters, this is a whole other story. Ironically, I think I first heard about it from you in one of our calls. Not a podcast episode, but
Really?
one of the other calls where we discussed like our creative works and stuff. You brought up, I think you mistakenly called it K-pop Demon Slayers because of Demon Slayer, but
Oh
that
yeah,
was
I've been doing
you
that
brought up the
for
movie
sure.
offhand. Like this is a movie that people seem to be getting into a lot, and I mean I don't really understand, but it's interesting. And I'm like, okay, now what is that? And then I heard some of my own friends talk about. Well, besides you, I don't mean to imply you're not my friend, but other friends,
Yeah, no, it's all good.
um, other friends mentioned it on another server, and I was like, yo, what? Wait, okay, this might actually be something. And then I saw some YouTube shorts of it as well. Um, YouTube shorts of stuff the fandom was doing, and I'm like, okay, you know what? This sounds like a bit of an interesting concept for a movie. You got K-pop idols who are in like demon slayers or demon hunters. It's like, okay, this could be. This has the recipe to either be peak or like the worst thing you've ever seen, or maybe just mid. I
Yeah,
don't know. It's just
true.
a lot of people would hear a title like that and think it's the most ridiculous thing ever. I mean, K-pop is one of those things on the internet where it's like, because of a lot of the fandom, like a lot of people just are kind of turned off from it in general, and it's one of those like main cringe culture targets. So I'm like, but when I heard that this movie was getting glazed out the wazoo, I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna give this a shot. It's animated. I like good animation. Let's see what they got in store for us. So on the way back from a trip that I was on, a different one, summer is pretty packed for me. Um, I decided to throw on the movie and see what I was gonna get from it. And about 5 to 10 minutes in, I was hooked. That
Hell yeah.
this movie is fucking peak, bro. Like, in fact, I rewatched it the day after, mainly because there was a ton of like sunlight on my drive and I could barely see some of the scenes. I was vibing to it
Mm.
nonetheless, but I managed to properly watch it again the next day, and I actually watched it a third time last night. I streamed it
Okay.
to a couple people, and by couple I mean 6 to 7, and we all had a good time. And I actually noticed even more things I hadn't noticed before in the previous two viewings, which
Sweet.
is the best thing to happen on a rewatch because this movie is. I mean, K-pop Demon Hunters is a movie that is like super, super packed with meat. Um, and it's not a very long movie either. It's like I think 90 minutes excluding the credits. And it
Yeah.
makes use of all of that time, but I'll get into it more when we talk about the pacing, I guess. I just wanted to do this little prelude about like how we felt going into it. I was left
Right.
thoroughly blown away by the movie at the end, and I was like immediately going to Kevin like, "Holy shit! Like they were right. This movie was fucking awesome."
Yeah.
And I
I
managed to badger him into watching it. So
Yes,
here
I
we are.
I had already been planning on it because I think I had heard the title and it was on my radar, but I didn't know it was going to become so successful. So when you finally saw it, I was like, okay, I got to get on this sooner than later. So, and I must say as well, I keep making this mistake. Every time Netflix puts out something goated and animated, I take forever to get to it. I watched The Mitchells versus the Machines a month after it came out, and it was one of my favorite movies of that year. I watched Ultraman Rising a week after that came out, and that was possibly my favorite animated movie of the decade. I got to give it another
Oh, holy
rewatch.
shit. I need to watch that. I,
I
I still haven't
adored
gotten around to it.
I adored Ultraman Rising. And then another example, I did not get to when it first came out. I did not get to Arcane immediately. Probably
I didn't get to
because I
Arcane until like right up to season 2.
Interesting. Yeah, I at the time it was probably just because it was League of Legends, and I don't play it, but when I heard people talking about how awesome it was, I was like, okay, I have to watch this. So yeah,
I
a
mean, I
lot of
don't
my
play
favorite.
League. The show is so good though. Like, I think it's all I
Yeah.
ever need from the League universe. Like, people
So a
all
lot of
Arcane fans always tell people not to fucking play that game. Like,
Right. With all this, and now K-pop Demon Hunters is like I am 3 for 3 on animated movies released on Netflix that I didn't watch the first day they came out, and I wish I did because it was just so freaking good. And
real,
it's
yeah.
and I guess yeah. So getting into the story, the opening of the movie follows it starts kind of like a brief journey through time where it showcases how there have always been
Yeah.
demons in this world stealing people's souls, at least in Korea. And a long time ago, three women came together with the power of song to fight against the demons. And their harmonies through their souls not only resonated with people,
We
but
do have
became
demons over here in Canada too. They're called the CPC.
interesting. Yeah, we got demons in America. They're called take your fucking pick. Anyway, um yeah, it's with the and so in this case, the song is not only do the demon hunters draw power from like the songs resonating with their souls and through others, but said power creates the Hunmun, which is this kind of invisible almost soundwave force field around the world that keeps the demons locked within their realm. And so throughout the decades,
Ironically, not to interrupt, but the Hanmoon almost kind of reminds me the fact that it's like an invisible wall that like also like kind of compels and like pushes things. It almost reminds me of what Sue Storm's power is in in Fantastic Four, which is very funny because
oh yeah,
her power is to
the
make things invisible or go invisible, and she can also like I think like move things with it. She
yeah,
definitely
it's
does
like
in the new movie. So
yeah, it's like some kind of psionic force field power to my knowledge, or at least
yeah,
they call it psionic abilities in Marvel Rivals. But yeah, and
and
the
in the Hanmoon
event
almost works the same way, except it's powered by sound. And it
eventually
specifically moves demons underground.
the Hunmoon it almost reminds me of like in Doctor Strange when they had like the Sanctum Sanctorums creating
Oh
an
yeah,
invisible barrier to stop the dark dimension.
yeah. I guess it's a good comparison.
And so throughout history, there's been trios of Korean women with the power of song, keeping the Hunmoon stabilized in the hopes of making it golden, so that it will finally, because the base color is blue when you can see it, but when it becomes gold, then it will finally be able to block out the demon realm, or at least that's the plan. And we get it in such a beautiful like opening sequence in just a minute and a half. We quickly establish how long these demon hunters have been around, how they fight, what they are fighting for, and how many generations. There's been at least at this point now there were at least 5 generations prior to the current one. And going through the different time periods like it this kind of stuff I
That's just what we
love.
see in the intro. I think it would be way, way, way more than that because That
True.
first scene has to take when like the demons are first repelled by the Hanmoon has to take place like hundreds of years ago. Um,
Right.
and
That's
you
true.
know,
Yeah. So
and then
the
after
demons
that
have
you
been.
get like I think starting from the 1900s, there's like these other groups. There's these other trios of women who you see, ending in like the Sunlight
Right.
Sisters, which is Celine and Rumi's mom and the other woman who doesn't really have much like elaboration. Um,
Yeah.
so
And the
I mean, there's a
and
lot that
so
isn't certain about the history of the demon hunters, but it doesn't have to be established in this movie. It's just a cool montage that kind of gives you the basic facts, I guess.
right. And in this case, when we get to the present day, we are finally introduced proper to the new demon hunters in this case, which it goes by the K-pop name of Huntrix. And they are consisting of three young women named Zoe, Rumi, and Mira. And these three, as you can tell, are protagonists. Shocking, I know. And while they and on top of what this is what is one of my favorite parts of the movie. The whole angle of them being K-pop stars is essential to their fight because as K-pop singers who make songs that a lot of people love that inspire people and resonate with their souls, that resonation and their music all works together to strengthen the Hunmoon. So them being K-pop stars is literally essential to their fight, as opposed to being like, oh, I'm a K-pop star and I'm burdened with this destiny. It's like, no, those are baked in together. And it also doesn't, they enjoy, that's the other thing. They enjoy being performers. It's not like, oh, we hate
Yeah,
being a K-pop star. No, they enjoy doing it. And if anything, they like fighting demons less than just performing for their fans. Because in after the montage that establishes everything, we also get, I guess, kind of a second montage, like a mini
that's where
montage,
they
sort of.
introduce the members of Huntrix with the fans talking about them.
Yeah, with the fan, and we get a quick sense of their personalities and vibe, at least from a public perspective. And
Which isn't too it's
after,
not too far off. They're kind of accurate on a lot of things. I mean, there's stuff they don't know about Rumi, but that's because, that's the whole that's the whole plot, you know.
right. Yeah, and so after that we finally get into the kind of the real so that's the opening of the film or the intro, I guess. We get the real opening
Can I just
big
say this? This is such a
showstopper.
minor detail, but I love it so much. When they end the montage and it cuts to like the Huntrix Stadium, like showing their logo, and when it's right about to start the montage with the fans talking about the members, the music note that gets hit when they cut from that like historical montage to the stadium goes so hard.
Yeah, the music
Like,
at shock of all shock, the music in this movie is amazing. But the
right?
music,
Yeah. And I'll just say this.
it just
I don't listen to a lot of K-pop, and I would consider myself mostly neutral on it, but these songs are bangers. Like,
yes.
for real. I
I
genuinely
don't know
think
if
that even if you never heard a K-pop song before, you'll probably like this movie because it's just that good. The only You might not like it if you actively dislike K-pop, because why would you
true.
watch why would you watch a movie that's based around K-pop if you don't like it? But
That's a
if
fair
not
point.
that, like, I'd totally recommend it, and I'd recommend listening to the songs. God knows I have them on loop. I was actually
Yes, I
cleaning my bathroom to the K-pop Demon Hunters soundtrack.
hell yeah. And speaking of God, and
Sorry,
speaking
I
of
didn't mean to cut
music,
you off.
that's kind of no, it's okay. That's kind of what the opening gets into with the whole. So the opening of this movie, after we get establishment from the fans that the concert is about to start, we see the girls' manager Bobby check to see how close they are to arriving on their jet. But then they realize, wait, the jet's going the opposite direction. Why is that? We then cut to the girls on the plane deciding to carb up, so to speak, before, which honestly, like, hella relatable. Like, I carved up right before this call with some Cheez Its, so can 100% relate to that. And this is where we get to see, again, we already have a sense of how these girls act based off their public personas. And in private, it's basically the same, but even more crazy because they just go nuts on some food while flight attendants watch confused and nervous, and it's very funny. That's something I gotta compliment. The animation of this movie is really entertaining and hilarious. It knows how to do good scale and grandeur in its presentation, like a concert performance, but it also knows how to do like personal quiet moments, and the comedy animation is hilarious. It does a lot of the facial expressions, kind of like what Turning Red did with some of its comedy, but in some cases even more insane. There are some shots in this movie where I was like, whoever thought of that in the storyboarding process or what have you, I got to give you a round of applause because it's so funny the way
I
they
know,
animate it, and
right?
the actors
Like,
just lean into it too. It's so good. Like, God, the friggin' just the smelling of the one piece of food is like one of the big memes from this movie. I am not a Korean culinary expert. I don't know every piece of food they were eating, but there's some very funny shots in just this. Again, that's what's so fun about this movie. There is a lot packed into a very short amount of time, but it's also entertaining and has such little elements that enhance it. I mean, a lot of good animated movies do that, obviously, but here, like, it goes so fast in just the first 10 minutes alone. It's nuts.
yeah, and I
But
mean, immediately, like you get into that with with the upcoming scene, which I'll let you talk about, I guess.
oh yeah, so that as they realize, oh wait, we're not going to our concert. Why is the plane flying the opposite way? They realize, shit, we've been hijacked by demons. The faces they make when they realize and just slowly look at the flight attendants is hilarious. That was another one of the bits that came to my mind.
You know
Zoe's
when, you
mouth
know,
just being
right, right,
full of
right.
food.
And the line she says, I didn't have captions on until my third watch. I literally did not figure out what she was saying until then because it was so crunched.
I don't know what she was even saying. I watched it without subtitles. I've only seen
Yeah,
this
I
movie
don't actually
once.
remember the exact line, but I'm sure I can find it at some point. But yeah, it's
It's
funny, and there's other details in that scene that I'm not gonna hyper analyze every scene to this level because we only have limited time. But I think the opening's a good example, like to use for this. Um,
yeah.
in the background, there's a lot of things that the demons do that kind of give away the fact that they're demons. Like some of this is pointed out
Right.
by the members of Huntrix who confront them. Um, like for example, they point out, "Oh, why the fuck are you watering a plant with coffee? That makes no sense. No sensible human would do that. Um, and why are you like acting like that? And stuff like that." And then of course they find the demon's markings, which will be important later. Um,
Exactly.
but there's other background details that don't get called out that are equally funny. Like there's like two like flight attendant staff demons in the background. They're wearing human disguises, I should probably specify, but you know.
Yeah.
Um there's these two like flight staff demons in the background, and they're just showing each other like a bunch of random shit. Like one of them has like a stack of pancakes that they're just carrying around, and and they're showing the other one, look at all these cool pancakes. And then the other demon just like fucking takes out a fish and shows the first one, like, but have you considered fish? It's like they actively are trying to like figure out what they have in their hands by like showing it to each other. It's so funny.
We also we also get the very important. I'm bringing this up now because this was one. This tied into this detail ties into a scene where I realized like what kind of ride I was in for with this movie. We also get the detail that when the demons are disguised, the hunters can make out patterns that either flash or appear on their skin, and kind of they're kind of these like I'd say almost like ribbon, like basically purple tattoos that can kind of shine across the skin. Wow, I am just blanking on how to continue the sentence. Point is the demons when disguised have patterns on them, so that's another way they're able to quickly figure it out. And this leads into the first action scene, which is just incredible. I say this as somebody who has animated to music and tried to animate a music video in time with a music's beat. I love when animation sequences are timed to music, And I mean, it's it sounds funny to say because at least in Western animation, it's been baked into the medium since its inception with like silly symphonies and follies and the work Disney did in all their old stuff, as well as with Hanna-Barbera and Fleischer and all that. But with this stuff in particular, I've realized I don't know there's not always a ton of animated movies where the action syncs to the music, where there's a fight scene that fits with what's going on in the background. I think maybe some of Spider-Verse, probably, possibly Tarzan, but there's not a lot that comes to my mind immediately. So to say we
The
have
Mitchells versus the
an
Machines kind of has that to an extent, but they
that's
don't really have
true.
that many music videos in that.
Right. So
I
it's
guess
so nice to see.
Arcane might be a good example, but they
Oh
actively
yeah,
have like
Arcane.
fights in the music videos and have like,
True. Yeah, that's a good example. But it is so regardless of how many there are or aren't, it is so nice to have first off another action animated movie because surprisingly there's not as many of those as you'd think. It only feels like it sometimes because
yeah.
every animated movie sells itself as like the event of the summer and it's like fucking Minions. um
Right, that's another
but
thing that's so great about K-pop Demon Hunters. It's the reason why it's so rewatchable is because I mean maybe I'll get more into this later. The pacing is so fucking good. Like or at the
yeah,
very
for the
least
most part.
it does not drag. Not in the
Oh,
slightest. Like every scene serves a direct purpose in the story or it's just fun. I don't know. Like um
yeah,
there's
no.
nothing that seems like meandering, pointless bullshit. Like a lot of animated movies get criticism for this, like especially like Minions. Like most Illumination movies have like these tired subplots that go nowhere for like so way
Right,
too much of the runtime. This is such a
mainly for
focused
comedy.
movie, and it's
Yes.
because it's so short, you can rewatch it so many times, and you can have a blast every single time. And it's such a clean, it's such a clean rewatch. Like I can't remember the last movie I had such a blast with 3 times in a row in like less than a week.
Yeah, God, I can't even think of an animated movie where I watched it that much in a short amount of time. Wow. Yeah, it's just such an entertaining like that's one thing I agree. This movie is so concise and straight to the point with a lot of elements. And I will say there are some times where I think okay, maybe the pacing could have been a little bit slower for certain sequences
Yeah, I
or
mean,
if anything.
there's a couple scenes that were left out of the final movie that were supposed to be in there. There was a rumor going around that it was going to be like 3 hours long with 30 songs, which is just not true. Like I don't know how to
Ah,
tell you this,
okay.
but like no one makes animated movies that long except for I guess Across the Spider-Verse, and that's not even that
True.
long. And there's
Yeah.
no way
Like,
they were making 30 songs for this. Like that was definitely not the case. But there were a couple extra scenes that might have fleshed it out better. I think there's definitely some moments where I'm like, I could have used a bit more connective tissue, but like the movie
yeah.
still absolutely works and it's still a banger with what it's got. And I mean, the lightning fast paced pace works for its the movie it's trying to be for the most part.
Right. Yeah, and it's got a lot of what makes the concise element of it so good is that not only is the comedy gotten across very fast and done in a lot of funny ways, but they also convey information very quickly and very well to the audience. Again, like the patterns
Yeah, I
thing,
mean,
they just they just deliver it so well of just like the because you got patterns and or like just pulling the arm up of the demon. It's like, oh, what do we have here? Patterns. That's what, like 5 seconds of the film, if even. Like
exactly. And it's
that
been like maybe 5 minutes since the movie started. We already know the basics of who Huntrix is. We already know the basics of what the Han Moon is, what the the Demon Hunters across generations have been. Yes, it's technically an exposition dump, but the framing device on it is really good because they do it in a bit of a flashback where the mentor figure, Celine, is explaining what they have to do while recruiting them, as in Huntrix, recruiting them to be the
right.
demon hunters. And then it cuts to the fans yapping about like their favorite Huntrix members. And I mean, that works for the movie because fans would totally say all those things. Like,
Yeah, if
it's a
anything, the
framing device
fans,
that makes perfect sense, and it's used so, like, well for the movie, like, you know?
if anything,
So,
the fans yapping so much about it, that feels like what would happen if you just like walked into a K-pop concert and interviewed a shit ton of K-pop fans about like who okay, so hi, I'm new to this band. What's their lore? And then they just do like an exposition dump.
yeah,
And it
100%.
it feels like fucking have you heard of a YouTube channel called Side Talk NYC, perchance?
No?
I highly recommend it. I think some of it is scripted, but the premise is like just like people like getting to chat into a microphone just randomly on the side of New York. Like some of them have themes like at Comic-Con or like after a Knicks game and stuff, but it is some of the funniest shit I've ever seen. Like the things, there's some good memes from it as well. Like there was one that was like a guy just a guy with a microphone asked an old dude like what do you have to say to Joe Biden or something like that, and the old guy's like, sup baby, take me out to dinner, hey yo, like that one is common to me.
That's
But
good.
it almost feels like that, where if I were to just walk into a Huntrix concert, like who is Huntrix, I'd get a million different answers within 5 seconds. So it kind of fits, I'd argue, as like an
Yeah,
it
it
fits well as an
does.
introduction,
Yeah,
and it kind of
and that gets across like all the information you need to know in like a few minutes time span, and then you understand how the demon disguising works with the scene on the plane. You get so much of the girl's personality in like literally only a few minutes. And then you get a badass fight scene to fire. How it's done is absolutely fantastic. Like how they start the fight scene with like they don't even start with their weapons. They summon their weapons midway through like the first like bit of the song. Like I think right at the build up to the
I
first chorus. Before that, they're just fighting with the random shit they have lying around. Like mostly their finished food. Like they just throw around cans. I think at one point Mira just fucking like smashes a demon's face in with like with a blunt object like 5 times in a row to the beat of the song. You have Zoe who just kind of like swings her legs and like leg locks one of the demons, just kind of like brings them to the ground with like zero weapons whatsoever. Um, you got
right.
Rumi in the front, and she's kind of just like doing all sorts of shit. Like she's got some sort of can. I don't remember the exact object, but she's just throwing it around everywhere and just beating the shit out of these guys with no weapons.
Yeah,
Then when they do summon the weapons, it's kind of game over for the demons because they just get splattered against the windows. And then they fucking
right,
destroy the plane, which
right.
for some reason doesn't cause the plane to just suck everyone out. Which I know that if you were an annoying piece of shit, you'd probably like complain about how this is unrealistic or something, but this very much seems like a heightened reality where like physics don't always matter too much. And like I mean my
Right, like,
personal headcanon is the singing just like empowers the Han Moon to stop the plane from crashing or some bullshit like that. It's probably just an oversight, but like at this point who cares? You're watching these idols like whip the
right,
shit out of these demons to a banger
and they
song.
jump
You've
and they
stopped
jump out
caring about the logic of it. Like,
and they
let's be
jump out
real.
of the plane. They jump out of the plane to continue the fight anyway, so they were going to be going out of it regardless of if they got sucked out or
Yeah,
not.
yeah, they literally just defied physics so that Rumi could aura farm while leaning out the door before jumping out.
Right, they just Aura Farm and scoff down some ramen as well.
Exactly. They had to finish. They had to finish their food. It's like
They always have like pre-show ramen, and the fight
real,
interrupts it, so they finally get a chance, and they're just like, "All right, let's make this quick." And also,
right?
as my
And then they
brother,
fight on the. And then they fight. They keep fighting the demons in midair. Like,
yes, doing the makeup of one of them. Zoe does the makeup of a demon as they
which, by the
fall.
way, the demon smiles while that's happening, implying the demon actually enjoys this process, despite knowing they're about to die.
Right. And also, as my brother pointed out, shout out to the music in this case, because one, how it's done is a banger, but also in context, holy shit, like Rumi's diaphragm while like speaking that fast, while falling midair out of the sky. Like how? How are your lungs not on fire? It's
Right?
very impressive stuff, and the directing as well is great. Like the editing is tight, the
We can't forget
directing,
about the fit check for my napalm era line from Mira, which like everyone says is like one of the hardest lines in the entire movie.
That
That's
is
like
so good.
that's a crazy slapper right there.
And then to end it all off, of course, they land right on the stage
I can't forget
and
about the
just
mirror mirror on the phone. Who's the baddest? Us hello from Zoe. That one's also a banger. But
oh
um,
yeah, that's there's so many good details. I'm sure when I rewatch this, because you know I'm going to, there are so many little bits I'm not even gonna realize were in there. There's some bits you're telling me where I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. But to break out kind of this whole like obviously we don't want to do a whole scene by scene
no,
examination,
we can't. I just
but
want to dissect this opening scene because it's the perfect microcosm of what this entire movie is like.
right. And yes, and then from there it gets even more interesting because so from here the plot continues where to give a big sum to give like surprisingly there's a lot more layers to this. It's kind of hard
I
to
do want to quickly
simplify.
mention just real quick. You mentioned that they land in the concert that they were supposed to attend, despite having like been flown off course. They land in
Yeah.
the concert mid song. And then and then shit just keeps getting cooler because one of the demons gets launched into the crowd. Two of like the regular humans in the crowd who don't know what demons are just like, holy shit, cool costume, dude. And then immediately Zoe spits like a mad rap verse and just fucking ganks him with like with a throwing knife. And the crowd is completely unfazed by this. They think it's just special effects. They just burst into cheers. It's great.
Yeah, it's so cool. Also, as somebody who's a sucker for distinct powers and weapons in fiction, love the distinct weapons everybody has in this case. It's
Oh,
always good to
absolutely. Yeah.
it already enhances their great
And
so it
all of
enhances
them have such like all of them have like such relevance to their fighting style as well, I've
right.
noticed.
Yeah, and it's just such an entertaining fight scene that perfectly gets you into the mood of what this movie is going to be.
And then you ended
And
off
from
with that high note at the end from Rumi with the end of the song. And I mean, at the end of the day, you're reminded that these are performers as well as fighters. They're idols, and they're gonna perform for their fans, no matter what. And fun fact, I've seen this been pointed out in a couple YouTube comments. Um, the fact that the fans yell it's them as they're like flying out of the sky towards the arena implies that this is not the first time they've skydived into a show or fallen out of a moving plane. This is
yeah,
just an
wait,
established thing that happens to them all the time that the fans
that's
that the fans like know about it.
That's such a good point, actually. It's like oh god, what would that be like?
This is just
Probably
routine.
right. It's like here comes Superman. How do you know that guy falling out of the sky is Superman? And then you just and then you're wait, why am I asking this question? Of course it's him or something. I thought I had a better joke for this, but yeah, that's a really good point. It's like, oh, we just know it's them. How?
Yeah,
And
but that fight
and
scene, that opening fight is just so good. And after that, you get into like them trying to relax and getting into character moments and just more like quick characterization, which is like snappy and like gets you the idea of who they are even faster. I'm not gonna go into this and be technical. We've dissected the opening enough. I'm just gonna speak in general terms. The rest of this podcast is assuming that you've already seen the movie, so I don't really have to explain much, nor does Kevin.
yeah, same here. And to just start going into the other stuff about the movie that I really enjoyed. Um, the characters are hilarious and entertaining for the most part across the board, or just interesting as well. I will say I have heard the criticism that yes, Rumi does get more focus than these other characters, which on the one hand makes sense because she's the protagonist, but on the other hand, sometimes Mira and Zoe feel a little overshadowed narratively, and I think that is a fair point to make. That said, to me, this is kind of similar to Encanto in that, yes, some of the side characters are a bit overshadowed, but they make such a good impression in their short scenes that the fact that it leaves you wanting more is a good thing on its own, I'd say. And the main characters as well are also interesting. So to me, it balances out just enough. I can understand why for
Yeah,
some
100%.
it's not enough of a balance, but I
I
do
feel like the
think
only character. Sorry, you go. My bad.
no, yeah, I was just ending off like I can see where they're coming from, but I don't think it's like a detriment to the movie or that it hurt or
No,
even
not
like a big.
really.
It's just kind of like that's a good
I mean,
point
the
I saw.
fact that
Somebody
people are so attached to Mira and Zoe, and like some of the other side characters, like even Bobby has like a massive fan base. It's like,
yeah.
I mean, these characters leave such a strong impression that it doesn't really matter that they're not the main focus or don't have enough narrative attention. Um, it makes sense for the story they're telling. I mean, maybe they could have gotten a bit more. I know there was some stuff on the cutting room floor. It personally, if anyone needs to get a bit more screen time, it's probably Celine because she's a very consequential character for Rumi's arc, and we don't really see that much of her until that like amazing scene where she's confronted, and the
Yeah,
honeymoon breaks apart.
that was the only character in the movie where I was like, okay, I feel like we should have had more time with that. And to be fair to the team, to my knowledge, there were some big scenes and moments that were cut or sequences that had to be simplified for like broader audiences or younger audiences.
Yeah,
Um which I can understand to a degree. And on the one hand, I can see that as a good thing because if you reach more audiences, you inspire more people. On the other hand, I do get that, yeah, sometimes you want those more mature aspects and overestimating what kids can't handle or what families can't handle, I think can be a detriment to some animated movies that need that for its narrative to strengthen itself. So yeah, I mean, I haven't done too much research into it. I don't know what was cut specifically or the mindset behind it, but at the very least yeah, for the predecessor, I think that was really important because they're a surrogate mom character and it's like that given her words to Rumi hanging over her throughout the film, I feel like we could have gotten at least another scene or two or a flashback with
yeah, I
her.
agree. I mean, what we have in the movie is functional enough, but like it could have been enhanced with like maybe one or two more scenes. Um, it's the aspect of the movie that just has the least focus, in my opinion, probably because of a lot of of a lot of the cutscenes. So the fandom kind of has to fill in the gaps of that. It's
Yeah.
complicated. Um, um, now there we have. Maybe we'll talk a bit more about how we like each of the characters once we come back to K-pop Demon Hunters. But for now, I kind of want to shift towards first steps, if you don't mind, because we've been
Oh
talking
yeah,
about it
we
for
can
a
talk about
while.
first steps. Yeah, for
Um,
sure. So
again, I don't
first,
think we're gonna do like a detailed breakdown of everything because that was enough
oh yeah, let's
with the
we can
KDH opener. And I
right,
don't
we can
have a
probably
ton of time before my battery fucking dies. So
yeah, we can speed it up a little bit. So Fantastic Four First Steps. The premise of this one is that, well, first of all, I think for the betterment of the movie, it's not in the mainline MCU. It's in its own other dimensional Earth, which I think is a strength and is honestly something I wanted more out of the MCU. I realized something in my head. I was like, wait a minute, we have this multiverse saga. Why were some of these movies set in another universe, like to help add to that? Like honestly, in hindsight, I think they could have set movies like Shang-Chi and Eternals in their own alternate dimension, and I think that would have been more interesting in some areas.
yeah,
Obviously I
because
know
there's a lot of stuff that contradicts like previously established MCU lore in some of those movies, and that wouldn't be a problem if they just set them in a different universe. It's why they
right.
set it's why they set First Steps in a different universe, because like if the Fantastic Four just fucking existed for some reason and the world was like how it was in the movie back in the 60s, that would raise a lot of questions as to like why this has never come up in any of the other MCU movies before. Why don't we have flying cars anymore by like the time of like the Avengers or like past that phase 1, phase 2,
Right.
phase 3? Like what the fuck happened to Irby? What the fuck happened? Where's the spaceship? Like you know?
Exactly.
That's
So
why it's its
the
own thing.
right, and in this case, it allows itself to be set in an alternate, almost in an alternate 1960s world. It almost feels like Tomorrowland in architecture. The art direction of this movie, probably thanks to, well, obviously the visual development team, but also director Matt Shackman, who worked on WandaVision, which was obviously a very genre fluid show for a lot of its episodes. That that direction and style to the movie I think enhances it a lot. I know some people I know some people felt the film looked a little bit too like there were some people who felt there was a bit too much green screen or that it felt a bit off to them in style. I even saw some people saying like some parts in the trailers felt AI generated to them. They weren't, but I understand the sense of like sometimes I understand from the trailers some one or two things might feel a little off once or twice, but other than that, I loved the look of this movie. The setting really went for it with like the art direction and the vibe of everything. It could juggle so many like colors and emotions and elements at once. It was just so I gotta praise that element because the look of this movie is wonderful. I don't want to hear any motherfuckers saying this movie is gray. I don't want to hear that shit because yes, there are some parts of this movie where it is gray, but it's done on purpose and it still has color when it does. So I don't want to hear shit about how, oh, this movie is overly green screened or has no art or passion put into it. They built practical sets for the movie. There, they met your friggin' film bro quota. Like I'm sick of the whole I get why people bring it up, especially for movies with this big budget, but I'm sick of the whole like the
Yeah.
MCU is gray. No, you just don't know what color grading for specific scenes is. But back on topic, the
I'd say this
story,
is one of the least gray Marvel movies. Like, it has a lot of
yeah,
popping color, and I mean, not. I mean, Doctor Strange: Multiverse of Madness is probably up there as well, if not more colorful than this. But this is a colorful movie. It's not at all a gray movie. Like,
yeah. At the very least, the main character's suits are blue, and it pops and it's gorgeous. As somebody who's a connoisseur of blue, like that, the blue looks
oh,
good in
I
this
did not
movie.
know. How
Yeah,
could how could
how
how
could
could
you
we
tell?
tell? Exactly.
But yeah, so the premise of this movie as well is interesting. So this is a more lived-in world where the Fantastic Four have been operating for a few years. I think that's a very smart choice. Similar to Superman, you go over the origin story so you can get down to business. And I appreciate that direction because that was part of why Fant Four Stick failed actually. Most of the movie was the origin story, but the problem was it dragged and then it cut out what should have been the most important elements of that. So it was so refreshing to just see the Fantastic Four already doing shit and being loved by the public. And it was interesting and fun and
And I
exciting.
loved all those villains they throw in, like Mole Man and Red Ghost. I mean, Red Ghost not technically in it, but you see the apes that he made for some
Right.
reason. But it's such a
You know,
zany thing that makes perfect
you
sense in
know,
this universe.
he was going to be in it. There was a shot in the trailers
Yeah, I do
of
know that. He was cut
that.
though. Might have
Right.
been
So I
John
wonder
Malkovich.
Yeah, I wonder why. But anyway, yeah, so the opening of the movie is a lot of fun in terms of quickly establishing the vibe and energy and the public adornment of the Fantastic Four,
Yeah,
where the
this is
story
kind of
really
similar to K-pop Demon Hunters, actually, with like the
it,
quick establishment. See, this is a more
right,
similar movie than Elio.
yeah, if anything. And but where the movie really starts getting interesting is so during the film it's revealed that Sue is pregnant, the Invisible Woman, and obviously, they're just getting excited at the fact over, oh, we're finally going to have a baby in this place. But then comes the Silver Surfer. In this case, Shala Ball, an alternate universe female version of the character. Which I think is an okay choice to make. Like I don't really care one way or the other. Like, and I know with we already had
It's crazy how anti-woke grifters have somehow like fallen into the rabbit hole so deep that they're now upset about like a naked woman in their movie. Like, you'd think that would be
right,
something they would champion, but no.
right, and we already had Norrin Rod, the main Silver Surfer, in the 2005 film, and even though that film, or not the
I'm pretty sure
2005 film,
it was later than that. The second one.
yeah, the 2007 sequel. And even though that movie again got criticism and wasn't considered the best, most people tend to agree Silver Surfer was one of the best parts of that movie. He looked good, he had a good voice, he was fun to watch on screen, had cool powers. So, yeah, we already have a good take on Norrin Rod. And in this case, we can do Shalabal. But then who knows where he'll show up next in the main MCU? Because after they soft reset shit with Secret Wars, they're probably going to bring Silver Surfer back. Um, But yeah, so Shalabal shows up, and shock of all shocks, she's heralding Galactus and warns the Earth that they should prepare for their doom, which leads to the movie kicking into high gear from there, where the Fantastic Four go out into space to try and stop Galactus. But when he tries to make a bargain with them that they refuse, in this case, giving up Sue's child in turn for sparing the Earth, that's when the rest of the movie's plot continues, is figuring out, okay, how do we stop the impending doom of Galactus while keeping Franklin safe, the new baby? And
Exactly. There's a bit of a moral like dilemma here where like a lot of the population kind of wants like them to give up the baby because they see it as the easiest way to save the planet. And some are
right,
outraged at the fact that they would even consider not doing that. Um, but the thing is, the moral dilemma is kind of put to bed when the Fantastic Four decide we're gonna find a way that we don't have to sacrifice either. And they
yes,
get the public on their side on this one because like there's that classic video where like, well, maybe not classic because it was probably not that long ago, but there was a guy who was interviewed in like on the street, by like a provocateur, and the provocateur was saying, "Would you rather have LGBT rights or economic stability?" And the interviewee was just like, "I don't have to respond to that hypothetical because it's ridiculous. I don't have to take either or. You can have both." And the provocateur kept being like, "Oh, you just pick one, just pick one." And the guy was like, "That's an unrealistic hypothetical, and I'm not going to pick because you can have both." And
right, yeah,
it's just like that's kind of the approach they take in the movie, where it's like,
right, and
guys,
that
like there could be a solution to this that doesn't involve sacrificing either. Like we can break the trolley problem here.
exactly, and that also brings up in relation to Galactus and Franklin. I gotta talk about briefly two of my favorite scenes in this whole movie. First off, the chase scene out in space as
Oh
Sue
yeah,
starts
that was
giving
fire.
birth. That was like, I have to say, conceptually, one of the most fucking genius setups I've ever heard for a superhero film action scene.
Got to be one
A
of the best
chase
pregnancy sequences in any movie.
like that was it was
It's
great.
kind
The
of a wild
effects
thing
were
to say out of context, but it's true.
right, but it's true. Yeah, the effects were great. The tension was real. The speed and energy of it all was palpable. And they also did a great job visualizing Silver Surfer's power, like practically surfing on black hole waves and like phasing through the ship. And
Dude,
like
when they
you
used the fucking time dilation trick, I was like, this is a movie for me. Because I know what time dilation is.
that shit was so, and that was a fun way of doing it where it was comic booky, but it was also smart and worked with everything. And God, yeah, that whole sequence, I can't wait to rewatch it when this shit hits digital or Blu-ray, because it's gonna be so cool.
Yeah, and I mean,
And then the
Galactus had one of the coldest layers out there, like right up there with the Infinity Castle in this movie. Like just the way it's designed with like all of those
yeah,
mechanical parts, and the way you like see him, and he like just aura farms over them with Ralph Ineson's voice. That's a really great
right. And
performance. But yeah,
yeah, it's also nice to see a Galactus who isn't a giant cloud and actually is a character where he's that's what I love
yeah,
that
I
this
mean,
movie got
Galactus
right.
is a force of nature, but like he still looks like a person kind of, or at least he takes on the
Right.
form that's relevant to the person looking at him.
Exactly. And speaking of other scenes I love, like you mentioned, like the Fantastic Four deciding we're not going to give up Franklin, but we're also going to stop Galactus. One of the scenes that embodies that the most for me is when Sue goes out with the baby to speak before the crowd.
I love
And
that speech, man. That was a great
that
moment.
that speech was very powerful, and I think the line that really like knocked locked it in for me was um the moment of like, I will not give up my child for the world, but I will not give up this world for my child. Like such that was so perfect. And Vanessa Kirby's line delivery was exactly what the scene needed. And there's a lot, I'll bring this up as we talk about characters, but there's so much, like there are moments in this movie where when I saw a character with Sue and Reed especially, there were moments where I was like, oh, I'm gonna remember that was what made this character so compelling or interesting to me.
Yeah, and the performances were all great across the board, honestly. Like, I was
Yeah.
interested to see what Pedro Pascal, of all people, would bring to the table as Mr. Fantastic, because he wasn't really who I envisioned eventually playing the role. Like, I like
Yeah.
Pedro
It,
Pascal, but like, I never really thought Reed Richards when looking at him. So
right.
I decided to let him cook in this, but he does a great job, like embodying kind of like his paranoid side, but also like his down to earth, his familial side.
Yeah.
Like
What I loved
he
about
does all those like mathy calculations, and his mannerisms really like make you buy this idea that he's absorbed in like these apocalypse scenarios. He's thinking of the worst case every
that,
time, and sometimes it's damaging to like the relationships around him, even if he means well. But you
yes,
also
that was
see how like deeply human he is at the same time, and he just does a great job with the performance. And Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm, it's like with those two, like man, my bisexual heart, my man, like with those two, I was
and
like,
that
hey,
and that
can there
scene
be a third space in this marriage, please?
and that scene for Pedro with him like talking about like the calculations he makes in his head, thinking of the worst case scenario. I will say that was the moment where I finally fully bought him as Reed. I thought he was doing a good job through the movie, but I was kind of waiting for like, okay, what's the moment where I'm like, I see Reed Richards, the character, not just Pedro Pascal doing a good job. That for me, I think, but it was either between that or the way he was like interacting with the team during the chase, because what I saw in those scenes was a great portrayal of both a father and a genius doing his best to make it look like, okay, even if he doesn't know how to be in control of the situation yet, he will figure it out. Like to me, Pedro's delivery, at least like expression wise, said like, I know I'm going to figure this out, but I am terrified on the inside and trying not to show it because I know people look up to me as both a family man and the smartest man alive. And I once I realized that's what he was doing with the character, I was like, okay, I'm fully on board with his take on Reed, and I'm so excited now to see where that leads in the future.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
yeah,
there's also Eben Moss Backrack and Joseph Quinn, who both do like respectively a really good job with their roles. I'd say they
yeah,
have less to do in the movie overall, but like what roles they do have are, they're served well in the story. They're fun.
right,
They have a lot of like genuinely good banter. And
yeah, they feel like
like they
the
also
brothers.
have like significant like roles in the family. I like that like Johnny actually got to do something like smart with like
Yeah,
the language decoding, because I know a lot of stuff portrays Johnny as like just kind of like this arrogant hothead ladies man who doesn't really have like more than 4 brain cells, but like no, that guy is smart. Like even if you don't really think of it often,
yeah,
he knows shit. Maybe more unconventionally than someone like Reed, but like he can lock in when he has to lock in. Um, and the
exactly.
thing
And that
has
doesn't
like a really nice story about how it's the most basic story to tell for the thing, to be fair, but like it's done well in this movie, where like
right.
he's kind of like looking back on himself before like the event that made him what he is. And he's feeling disconnected from his old community. I like that they brought in the synagogue and made it like explicit that like yeah, this character is Jewish because he's always been in the
Yeah,
comics, but like I'm not sure how well that's like translated onto the big screen because it's
right.
been a
At the very
while
least,
since I saw the movies. It was
at the very
nice
least,
to
I think
that they actually explicitly showed that and made it a part
that
of
was
his like side journey.
yeah, and I think that was definitely needed because, recently Marvel's gotten a lot of criticism recently. Many people have accused it of being anti-Semitic, the MCU, mainly because, and to be fair, I'm not saying this is good, but mainly because a lot of its more prominently Jewish characters have felt either sidelined or altered in weird ways, mainly with Wanda Maximoff and Pietro, WandaVision, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, who are Romani Jews in the comics, being played by decidedly very white people, and not having their Jewish heritage factor into their characterization. And that is fair criticism. Much as I like Wanda in the MCU and Pietro a little less so, I do think that is a valid criticism. And then with Moon Knight, that show it had a bit of a mixed reaction from Jewish fans regarding the portrayal. While there were some people who felt like the less on the nose mentions of Judaism and the presentation of it worked. There were others who felt like this is not enough for such an openly Jewish character like Moon Knight, where his faith and the conflicts therein tie into his allegiance to Khonshu and his perspective. And I think that is fair, even if it's. I'm just pointing out that like not everybody had the same opinion on this, but the MCU has gotten some fire for this stuff. I will say, I don't think the MCU is anti Semitic. I think that is kind of a dumb accusation to make, mainly because last I checked, Kevin Feige is Jewish. So,
Yeah, I don't know if that's
make,
true, but like maybe, I don't know.
let me double check that actually. I could have just spouted bullshit. But let me just go over this real quick. Is
I'll
Kevin
also say while
Feige?
we're here, this is kind of
Yeah.
unrelated. I just love another aspect of the movie that I think is peak is that the world feels like a character in and of itself. You have all these like fun bits like the show, the Ted Gilbert show. You have stuff like Subterranea playing into the plot with like Mole Man showing up and being a G, letting everyone
Yes.
evacuate down to his land. For such a minor role in the movie, Mole Man is just so good. Like I love him. Um, and then there's also
Right.
stuff like the Worldwide Construction Project, because one of the earliest plans they have is to teleport the entire planet away. Um, and they have this whole worldwide like project with like all these construction workers and people from around the globe making all these teleporting fields to get the planet away. And it's really inspiring to see all those people work on it because it's not just the superheroes who are doing shit, it's just the everyday people, the working class. And they're all coming together in this very like 1960s style, like, let's get this project done. Let's put a man on the moon style, like, type shit. And seeing that whole montage and seeing the Fantastic Four interact with these people and uplift them, like the Thing with those construction workers in that one moment. Um, it's
Yeah.
like the people are allowed to play a role in this story in a way that I don't think usually happens in a lot of Marvel movies. And it was such a nice
Yeah.
touch because it really sold. Like these people love the Fantastic Four and the Fantastic Four love them back. The entire world is part of their family, which is kind of what Sue mentioned in her like iconic speech. Um,
Yeah.
and
And it's
yeah, it doesn't
so and
technically
that's
work because Shala Ball comes in and does a little trolling and blows up most of the generators. But like at the end of the
right.
day, it's still so like lovely to see all that and see the people play a role in this.
Yeah, and I also that was one thing in this movie that really touched me was that sense of community and like strength of relying on each other that the film had. The film, and that's not to say that everybody was blindly on the side of the Fantastic Four. People were, of course, critical of them and their possible decision to say "fuck the trolley problem." We can do both, or at least before that point. With I especially love that bit on like the news TV of like how the Galactus death cult was like scaling Everest or something. That was really funny. Um, but yeah, it was a good element. It was a great balance of just like the community loving them while still not treating them like impossible gods. And I think the Thing, especially like his storyline with the I forget her name, but the teacher from the Jewish community was really like really helped accentuate that and made it stronger. I also agree with you, yes, that yeah, Johnny like getting to do something and be smart and not just be characterized as the hothead show off was very refreshing. It was one of the aspects with it was probably the part of Joseph Quinn Joseph Quinn's Johnny Storm that I loved the most in this movie. I have to say, by the way, if I may just rant for a tiny second, I remember so many people shitting on the casting when it first came out. A lot of people were like, "No, not the Stranger Things guy." I'm like, just say you don't like running up that hill edits on TikTok or Eddie Munson edits, and
It's weird.
like
It's a
that's your
weird
problem.
criticism to make because Joseph Quinn does a good job in that show, and he's a good actor in
Yes,
general. So I don't
he does a
understand.
great. I'm genuinely convinced a lot of the hate for Eddie Munson and Joseph Quinn in relation to that role just came from it being overplayed on TikTok. And I have a reason to believe there is physical evidence of this because I know for a fact my brother grew to grow sick of the Running Up the Hill remix from that show because of how much it was
Lamau.
on all over TikTok.
Speaking of
So,
things that would be overplayed, why don't we take a brief detour to talk about Soda Pop from K-pop Demon Hunters, which um,
I
will lead us to
Yes.
talk about all the songs in K-pop Demon Hunters. Um,
Oh yeah. And on a side note, the score in Fantastic Four is amazing. Like Michael
oh yeah,
Giacchino
Michael
did
Giacchino's the
his
goat.
thing did his thing yet again, but especially that main theme. It's so infectiously catchy, and it's still so
Exactly, just
funny
like
to
Soda
me.
Pop.
Right. Like I can't believe there was unironically a time where people were like Marvel movies have no good music or nothing music. I'm like
That's like the one good thing that most Marvel movies share. What are
people
people
were saying
talking
this
about?
shit people were saying this shit around Infinity War, mind you.
Bruh, Alan
After Black
Silvestri? Nah.
Yeah, Alan Silvestri, fucking Ludwig Göransson, the composer for, as well as the composer for frickin' we also had Giacchino on fucking Spider-Man and Doctor Strange. We had the music, we had the fucking Ant-Man leitmotif, the Civil War soundtrack by Henry Jackman, as well as Winter Soldier. The Guardians score also really works on top of the music. Like, it's so weird to me that people were like, Marvel music all just blends together. You mean you don't remember the theme for Incredible Hulk? That's what it really feels like you mean. But yeah, as for the
True.
music of K-pop, Demon Hunters. So the songs, yeah, all across the board, great. Like there are so many. Like that's what I love about this movie. This isn't just an animated like action movie that happens to have like songs in the background, like Guardians of the Galaxy does in a lot of its fights. Which, to be fair, is not an insult at Guardians. But this is a movie where the songs are baked into the narrative. It's a musical. It's an action musical, and it's not ashamed of that. And I'm very happy about that because I think action musical is a genre that this medium should be experimented with more, at least in a studio sense and a big budget sense. And so to have these songs not only produced by like actual K-pop people, which sounds like the bare minimum, but you know, these like again with K-pop figures, they have kind of this like godly, oh my god, this is the person aura around them in terms of like the fan culture and whatnot. So the fact they were able to get producers or like music singers from like Twice and shit is that's cool. That's awesome that they were able to do
Yeah,
that and
absolutely.
lean into that authenticity. And yeah, the music all across the board is really good. If you'd like to give your opinions on each of the songs, I guess,
Well, I
because I
actually
know
have
my
to
opinions
go
on.
for like a brief moment to get a charging cord because because I'm running out of battery faster than I expected. I don't want this to
Oh,
be cut
okay.
short, so I'm gonna let you actually yap about what you think about the songs for a little
Oh,
bit
okay.
while I go get
Yeah,
that because I
sure.
got to mute.
Gotcha. So
All
yeah, I
right, go
guess
ahead.
taking over for okay. So I guess taking over for a minute. Yeah. So the opening number, that how it's done. As I've already talked about with Noah, like that song is great. It's fast paced. It fits the action sequence. It's energetic. It quickly guides you into the vibe the whole movie is going to have. Then comes possibly my favorite song in the movie, Golden, which is the song they, of course, released to try and get the Hunmoon going golden into overdrive. It's a lovely track that discusses who these people are, but it's in the golden sequence where we get the first moment where I realized, oh, this movie is going to be special or do something interesting that I was not prepared for. When we get to the bridge toward the end of the song where Rumi goes off and we see her talking about like finally things are going to be different, taking off the jacket to reveal the demon patterns. When that shot happened, my jaw dropped a little and I was like, "Oh, so this is what we're working with for this movie." Okay. And and I especially like god the visual of the like the no more hiding, I'll be shining while she's still covering up who she truly is. Like that was really impactful. And on top of that, the vocal delivery in the song is incredible. Like these music producers really know their shit. But it gets better from there because there's other all the other songs in this movie are good, even if they're not my favorite. Soda Pop is exactly what it needs to be. It's an infectiously catchy poppy beat by the Saja Boys, the evil demon boy band of the film, led by Shiro. and it does exactly what it needs to. It's energetic. It perfectly introduces their vibe to the public in appearance. Oh, sorry.
Who's
Jiro.
Shiro?
Or who the fuck is the main demon boy? Sorry, I'm still
Genu.
trying to remember some of Genu. Okay, I don't know how the hell. I think I was trying to say Jiro, and that came out.
That's funny.
But yeah, so as I was just saying, yeah, with the first. Actually, did you hear any of that while you were grabbing the
I
cord?
did actually. Yeah, I
Or-
kept my headphones on, and I do want to say Golden might be my favorite too.
Ah, okay,
Or
good. So
maybe this is
we're
what
of
it
two
sounds
minds.
or what it sounds like. It's just called that.
Yeah, that's fair.
And
But
on
yeah,
Soda
soda pop.
Pop, actually no, you go.
No,
I was gonna
I was
make a joke
basically
about this.
I
Yeah,
was basically finishing
the
up.
best way
If
to
you want to.
describe Soda Pop, in my opinion, is that it's exactly the kind of song where the first like 5, 10, 15, 20 times you hear it, you're bopping along to it, but like it would just keep getting overplayed on the radio again and again and again, and it'd be the biggest song that year, and you would keep hearing it, and at some point you'd want to tear your hair out because it's the only thing they ever put on the goddamn radio. Like that's the
Yeah.
exact kind of song it is. And it works so
Yes.
well for that.
It is very much the Heat Waves by Glass Animals of this film. If anybody knows that song. Or even what's the fucking the Benson Boone dude
Yeah,
who's like singing
okay.
that one song everywhere.
It was the I forget the name of the song. It was like Beautiful Things, I think.
I think I know exactly which one you're talking about regardless. So, yeah. It does exactly what it needs to. And I will say as well, actually, while we're on the subject of the Saja Boys, I will admit a part of me does wish we kind of got to know some of the other members, but the film does kind of establish early on that it's like, okay, Jiro is an exception to the demons. And for the
You
most
keep fucking up his name. Like
damn it, what is damn Genu,
his
son of a
name is
bitch.
Genu.
Genu. Okay.
It's
God
two
damn it.
syllables. This isn't difficult.
While Genu is they I will admit I have mixed feelings on like the demons in the movie in terms of like the core, because obviously Genu is meant to be framed as an exception to the demons with his half human heritage. Like his half human heritage
I don't
separates
think
him.
I don't think he's actually established to be a half human. He never says that in the movie. What he does say
Oh,
is that he was originally a human living in poverty, um, until Kima made like a promise to him. Well, not really a promise. It was more like a threat where it's like only I can make your situation better. Come with me, and I will make it better. And it's established, I think, that he's kind of a voice that can appear in human heads, because he does that with Zoe and Mira and even Bobby later in the movie.
right.
So like I think what's you're supposed to be inferred is that Kima basically like gave him all this stuff in exchange for him like abandoning his family and like pledging fealty to him or something. And eventually, because he had so much guilt and shame of his actions, his human side eventually kind of like got chipped away and away until he was condemned to the realm and became a demon organically over time. So, no, I don't think it was ever established that he had a demon parent. He was fully human. He became a demon from the guilt and shame he got after following Kima's orders.
Okay, gotcha. Well yeah,
So it's
so
not the same
anyway,
as Rumi, who just started off that way because one of her father was a demon.
gotcha. But yeah, so Genu is obviously framed as an exception to like the demon side of things. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, the demons are basically like they're basically all evil, right? Technically speaking.
No, I don't think so. I think most of them are because like Kima is like controlling them and compelling them and like driving their every like instinct. A lot of them are just down with that, it seems. A lot of them seem to
Yeah,
be
I
souls that have like fallen to such an extent that like there's barely anything human left about them. It kind of reminds me of like Tolkien's orcs, except to an even greater degree, where they're like
mm,
deliberately supposed to be kind of like souls that have like been twisted. Um, like
yeah, I
most demons don't seem to be like, because like I'm a pretty firm like believer that like unless you can do it really well, you shouldn't have like evil races in like your setting. But I feel like it's fine in this movie because they specifically establish like that demons are mostly just created from like shame that builds up in people who have already done bad things. So like these
Hmm.
demons were not like largely just innocent from the get-go, that just happened to be born in this realm. I mean,
Right.
maybe
This is
some are, but
this.
I don't think those are the demons that Kima is sending to like attack, Huntrix, and that Huntrix are
Right. It's
killing.
Yeah, and so and that's another thing I will say. I don't think Kima is like the greatest villain ever, but I do appreciate what they did with him in the movie. Firstly, making a villain just a giant wall of flames, essentially in character design, is like
The best
that's
part
pretty
about that
cool.
is that he actively hypes up Baby Sacha during his rap section in Your Idol. Like,
Oh
he
my
flames
god.
in the background behind him.
Yeah, that was really entertaining. Like that's a great point. Like how during that portion he looks like he's part of the effects and the performance. Like that's a great element there. And
100%. I
also
mean,
like the voice.
you're right. Kima's not like the greatest villain ever. I think he serves his purpose fine. Like he's kind of like he almost takes a backseat to Genu, who's like the main like threat, I guess, because he has all these plans
Yeah,
he's undermining Huntrix with. Because I'm not gonna get into the details of this, obviously, but like the whole plot is basically Genu forms a demon boy band, and they try to steal Huntrix's fans and like fuck up their Hanmoon plans. And there's like a whole
right.
like debacle between them. Um, I will say, yeah. Um, I lost control of my point for a second. I was just trying to say, yeah, Kima's not the greatest villain, but I don't think he has to be for this story. And what I will say about
Agreed.
Kima, his voice is genuinely really unsettling. Like, I forget his
Yeah.
name, but the voice actor who plays him and the front man does a fantastic job. Like, it's also not a stereotypical villain voice.
No,
It's not
yeah,
like a
that's
super
that's what's
deep,
so cool about it.
brooding voice that's like, oh, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you. No, 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 no. It's like, it's a normal person's voice, but with like these weird like inflections and like demonic effects. And it's
Right.
almost gentle at times while also being
And
like
I think
full of aura and power.
yeah,
Like,
and I think that's what makes it so
and
work
it
so
has
well
like such a
because
creepy twist to it where it's like, I don't know how to
it's
describe this. Like,
it's to me it sounds like normal, and that's part of why it makes it so scary because it makes you believe like he could be like realistically whispering in someone's ear and it not setting off like too many alarm bells. Like I mean probably some for sure, but to me it reminds me a lot of in thinking about it, it reminds me a lot of the wolf from Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. How his voice wasn't like a stereotypical like growling wolf voice. It was kind of this like just almost like regular voice in a way. Like obviously there was condescension and times where Wagner Moira went big with it, but his delivery on the wolf almost felt normal and relaxed at times. Like with the bit in the bar of Puss in Boots where he just goes like, everyone thinks they'll be the one to defeat me, but no one's escaped me yet.
it
It's
seems like he
weirdly
actually gets
intimidating.
more like unhinged as the movie goes on, as he's more and more frustrated with trying to chase down Puss, because it feels like at first it's more of a job to him, and then it becomes more and
Yeah,
more of an obsession as time goes on. So he does a really good job with that for
exactly.
sure.
Yeah, and I think that Kima, like again, yeah, not the greatest villain ever, but I do like what they did with him both visually and with his voice because that was such a big part of the character, and I think that's what helped make him stand out. Even if obviously Genu is the big threat, I guess here. And
Well, not the
speaking of the
big
music,
threat, I would say, just the just like the like main villain character. Like, because Kima does like do the majority of the damage himself, or he has like the greater plan in motion. It's just Genu's
right,
kind of the front and center villain. I don't know. It's
right,
weird calling him a villain because he technically is, but like because of his whole dynamic with Rumi, you wouldn't think of him as such at first glance,
right,
but he is technically the villain. But yeah,
yeah,
I mean, we kind of got sidetracked from the music because we just made that joke about like Kima hyping up Baby from behind.
right. And then, but then in
After
terms of
Soda Pop, I
other
think it's I think after that it's
Takedown?
Takedown, which is great. I
Yeah.
mean, the way they use that
Yeah.
song in the movie also is like insane because like
Right.
you think it's just gonna be like a normal like rap diss that they're gonna like Huntrix coming up with that rap diss to the Saja boys. Um, you think they're gonna have like a normal sequence, kind of like How It's Done or Golden, where they just go ham on those guys, and I was excited for that. What I got was so much better, but like so much more unsettling. Um, the takedown sequence has to be like one of my favorite parts of the movie. It's so diabolical. Um, I like I don't know how to explain the feelings I felt during that entire sequence. It's like, I mean,
It's so
first we want to
entertaining.
start off with like just the drafting of the song and how like the girls are coming together to like bring up these lyrics, and you have all these seeds planted where like Rumi's like not feeling comfortable with it because she's half demon. They don't know that. Like Zoe and Mira, I mean. Um, they don't know that. And they're writing lyrics like condemning all demons to hell, and like exposing the Saja boys for being demons, even though she also is one, or at least half one. It's like those lyrics affect her and they don't even realize it. So they have like this whole like bit in the plot where she tries to change the lyrics. And that creates
Right.
some conflict where they're like, something's clearly wrong here. Like, why are you so adamant about this? They do end up just deciding to play Golden at the Idol Awards instead of playing the diss track. Because
Right.
they ultimately decide to be supportive because they see that like Rumi's going through something, and probably playing this song that clearly makes her distressed is not the plan, not the go-to. Um,
Yeah.
so they play Golden, and Takedown plays at like multiple points during the movie. Like you get like
Right.
teasers of it, so you're led to believe. Because first you have the initial drafting of the song. That's like, there's a montage as well of them like beating up demons. Then there's like the train sequence which genuinely, brief detour, really unsettling how they just established that all those people in the train died or like got their souls stolen and they did not
Right.
come back. Like that was like a long
Yeah.
lasting
That was
consequence.
that was
And that
very
also
like
happened largely because of the instability in the Huntrix group. I'm not to say they
yeah.
were responsible, but they were slightly distracted while fighting, and that led to a lot of people dying. So
Exactly. And the I especially love how Rumi is given basically like a it's interesting how obviously it's she wants part of why she wants to change the lyrics deep down is because she wants to believe that the lyrics about like demons all being evil is not true. But she also has good cover in that it's like, wait a minute, is this really the song to do it because it's hateful and spiteful when the entire point of our songs is bringing people together as opposed to tearing others down. So she has like it's a great balance of like she has a good reasonable explanation for why the song wouldn't fit their vibe for like finally sealing the honeymoon, but it also juggles the sense of like, okay, clearly there's something under the surface and the other characters can see that as they fight. That's not the only reason she's acting strange.
a
And I
hundred
thought that was
percent,
really
yeah.
good writing on the part of the film because it was and
And
I
then after the
especially
train
love.
sequence, oh no, no, yeah, sorry, I'll let you go. I thought you were done
Oh
for a
yeah,
sec,
no,
but
well actually we can talk about the train sequence well after the train sequence because that was kind of my next point,
yeah, yeah,
how
yeah.
it comes back into the movie with that third act because oh man, or that second act low point I guess would be the placement of
Yeah,
it.
the sequence when they do the International Idol Awards, because they got these Idol Awards that, I mean, as I've said, you should watch the movie before you watch this, so you'll know all these things I'm talking about. At the Idol Awards,
Right.
they play Golden to try and like beat the Saja boys to secure the Hanmoon. And
Hmm.
they start playing Golden. Everything's fine. I'm gonna break down this part because although I said I wouldn't break down stuff analytically for the most part in this review after the opening scene, this part really speaks to me, so I'm going to. Um,
Yeah.
so you have Rumi, you have Zoe, you have Mira. They're all there. They're all doing their choreography, their dance. They're singing the lyrics to Golden. They're really good dancers, by the way. Like in addition to being singers, I just thought I'd mention that.
Yeah.
Um, and then at one point in the song, Rumi is singing by herself. Um, and so Zoe and Mira, they both go backstage. what happens is they think that Bobby is being kidnapped by a bunch of demons. There are two people who kind of look like security guards who can be seen grabbing Bobby in the background. And those two security guards kind of like flash some hints that they're demons, very intentionally. So Zoe and Mira start tracking them down to save Bobby because they think their manager is getting kidnapped to try and throw them off. Now, although this was not shown to them, the Bobby was actually the Bobby, the Bobby, the Bobby that they were trying to rescue was actually a fake Bobby who themselves was a demon in a disguise, and that wasn't shown to them. So it was actually a ploy to get them away from Rumi, so that two other demons in disguises could pretend to be Zoe and Mira on the stage, and also someone I guess could sneak in and switch out Golden for Takedown, which I kind of just happened in the background. They must have gotten past security somehow. The point is, the lights go dark while Rumi's just performing Golden by herself. And then you just hear Takedown go on. And you know it's wrong because the group decided not to play that. And you feel it in real time with Rumi. And there's a shot of like Zoe and Mira just coming back from the fake Bobby encounter being like, why are they playing this song? What is going on? And the way it unfolds is so unsettling. And then you see the fake ones, Rumi's fake friends kind of show up. And at first, Rumi thinks it's completely normal. Well, not completely normal. She thinks that obviously something has gone awry, but like she's going to continue the performance. And at first, so do the demons who are pretending to be her friends. But then they start pushing her while like emphasizing the most uncomfortable lyrics for her. And they just methodically tear off her outfit, exposing her markings to the entire crowd in one of the most like genuinely diabolical sequences I can think of from an animated movie, considering the context of this character and her internal struggles. Like, I got actual chills down my spine watching that, like thinking of what it must have looked like from her perspective. She had no way of knowing those were not her real friends, because remember, the demons that they encountered, like with their disguises earlier in the movie, fucking sucked at their jobs. And besides the Saja boys, they didn't really see any demons who like pulled off convincing disguises. And these two demons who were playing Zoe and Mira were actually not Saja boys. They were regular demons who were like commanded by Genu, like who was leading them. And apparently they just learned the choreography. And like, that's kind of impressive, but also terrifying, because she must have genuinely thought that her two friends turned on her and exposed her in the worst way possible, like on stage. Like very soon she runs into the actual Zoe and Mira, and realizes that those were fakes. But like the trauma that must have come from that incident would go crazy. And I was saying to Kevin, while like hyping up this movie to him before he'd seen it, there's one moment in the movie where like the villains, I don't know if I specified it was the villains, but there's a maneuver that gets pulled off in the movie that genuinely feels like something Kendrick Lamar would do to someone like Drake. And that is the takedown maneuver.
Oh yeah, that's completely, dude. When they even talked about like making a mixtape, I was like, oh my god, please let there be some kind of like Kendrick joke in here. And also, I actually want to talk about that part where they go back. She goes backstage and sees her real friends. Now I bet that now, speaking of things you kind of hinted at before I saw this movie. You mentioned how at least one reviewer you saw talking about the film said that there was a part of the movie that they didn't like as a trope, and this is very much one of those main characters split up before the third act moments. I understand why
it's
that
a liar
trope is
reveal
tiring.
thing, because they just found out that Zoe and Mira just found out that Rumi was hiding the markings from them. Because those weren't the real ones on stage, but like her clothes were ripped. Not all her clothes, sorry. Just her jacket that was hiding the markings was ripped off. And like she was exposed in front of all those people and went backstage, and they actually saw her before that. The point is, they know now, and that makes it a liar reveal plot. So there you have it.
And that said, I don't think it's badly executed. I think we should.
I think the liar reveal plot in this movie, given the themes and the character journeys, is actually like one of the best implemented ones in the movie. Like one of the main reason I
Right.
think people complain about liar reveal tropes a lot is because not because it's I mean it's obviously a bit overdone in animated movies. It's just also a lot of them are artificial and just melodramatic for no reason. Like whereas
Right.
like many animated characters could just like literally talk out their issues in 5 minutes and they have every reason to. They just decide not
Yeah.
to for the plot. Whereas in this case,
Exactly.
the reason why Rumi has not shared these details about herself or shared her markings is literally because she has a self hatred complex inflicted by her mother figure from like long, long ago, like basically from her childhood, early childhood, even. Um, like that's a genuine like character motivation to not tell. And the part that really like stings about that breakup scene is that you really buy the emotions and you buy that this is like real and earnest because it's
Yeah.
not melodramatic for no reason. It's not like inauthentic or cliche. I mean, I guess it's technically a bit cliche, but it's not inauthentic. It's not ingenuine. It's like this is the culmination of like all of the toxic traits that Rumi has been imbued with. Um, and it's all blowing up now because it wasn't resolved earlier, and that's the tragedy of it. And it works so well. Um, Personally,
Right. And
like
I also
I
want
really
to
love
add.
breakup scenes where you can understand where every side is coming from because objectively, although it may seem cruel because Mira and Zoe kind of like raise their weapons at her a little bit. They don't really go for the attack or anything. They just raise their weapons and they're like, what do we do?
Right.
Like what is the
And,
truth? Like what the
and
fuck is going on? It's like
in their defense,
yeah, it sounds a bit callous, but like they've also been raised to believe that there's no good demon out there. There's no like they're
and
raised to believe
in
this and they're offended. Well, not offended, I should say. They're shocked that they weren't like told this information. They're having their whole world kind of like turned upside down. It's a perfectly
not to
understandable
mention,
her and it's
not to
also
mention a
understandable
movie.
on Rumi's end. So you can understand both sides because her complex led her to this situation where she never came clean to them herself. And sorry, you were going to
Not
say
to mention,
something.
yeah, and not to mention, this is right after they just got tricked into thinking Bobby was being kidnapped. So for
Right.
all they know, the
And I mean, the
Rumi they
girls
could be talking
genuinely
to.
have like a close relationship with Bobby because like he's like a genuinely good manager, which is probably the most unrealistic part of the movie given it's set in the K-pop industry, but you know, I'll let him have
Yeah.
it.
So
Bobby is a goat.
right. So if you saw, so like if you saw, like, so in this context, their one of their friends was almost just kidnapped by demons, and the demon that they thought was their friend was in disguise. So now they're staring their best friend down with demon patterns on their arms, and it's like, wait, can we trust her? Can we trust what's going on right now? And they
Yeah,
don't even have a full grasp.
for all they know, that's not even the real Rumi. It's a fake Rumi.
Right.
Like maybe she was swapped out at some point. It's
Exactly. So
like
yeah,
it's
there's a
really
lot
hard
of
not to see where they're coming from, and they do attempt to understand her at other points during the movie. It's like this is one of those liar reveal like moments where you completely get where every side is coming from, and that's what makes it so
yeah,
painful. Um, and
precisely.
it doesn't it's not dragged out either. Like they don't like make a whole like melodramatic cycle out of this. It's just they have their confrontation. Rumi runs away in shame, then confronts Jinu, who's like, I lied about my backstory because like he framed himself a bit more charitably when they met. Um, and he's also like, we're demons. All we ever do is suffer in shame. And then he dispatches those two guys who like pretended to be Zoe and Mira, and then fades as well. That's also a pretty harsh moment because like you've had multiple scenes at this point of Rumi and Jinu kind of like meeting up in secret, developing some feelings for each other. Like for him to then pull this stunt on her after promising to help her was like really raw. I know that, to be
Right.
fair, I know that like Kima was like low key, like kind of forcing him to do that. Like it was kind of implied that like he was going to be tormented if not. Like, so it's not 100% on him, but that is such a gut punch, like on Rumi's end, to like finally start trusting this guy, and then he pulls the most traumatic shit on you possible. Like,
Right. Yeah, and I also I speaking of Genu in that moment, like that whole sequence, I actually have to also give credit to the movie. I think I might have mentioned this. I like that Genu's like what we learn about his past is like a genuinely big mistake. Like it's not just like a forced upon circumstance in the idea of like he like didn't realize like how bad off his family would be without him. It's not just that. It's like no, he chose to not like fight for his family when given the chance to like enter a higher point in society during his time. Like that's an interesting mistake. And the regret there I felt was very palpable from him, and the delivery was really impactful, which I appreciated because it's with these kinds of characters, when you have the pretty bad boy with the troubled past, it's easy to just kind
yeah.
of shorthand that as like, I'm a vampire, it's a curse or whatever. But this was like, no, I made a genuinely bad mistake and I have regret over it and just want it erased from my mind. I know it can't be undone, so I just want to forget about it. Like that was an interesting villain perspective, and I like that they went for that because I know in animated movies like there seems to be kind of this idea like where it's like, oh, there's sometimes you can't have a character be too evil. And to be fair, I don't view Genu as, yeah, like you said earlier, fully evil, but I do
But
think
he's
that
definitely
I
still like
appreciate,
very complicit in some bad things, like with all the soul stealing that
yeah,
the Sacha boys do. And like,
yeah,
and again, like the
and
traumatizing of Rumi, even if he was like forced to do that by Kima.
right. So I think it fits in terms of I appreciate that they were able to take that swing with his character and not just entirely dumb down any of the stuff that happened with him.
Yeah, 100%.
Um
And I do think the fandom, not to throw hands, the fandom does kind of woobify him a little bit, where they like kind of forget that he does like legitimately bad things, and he's kind of like a bad, selfish person for most of the movie. Like even if he has some like very sympathetic aspects, and you can see why like Rumi like grows to care about him and want him to change,
yeah,
it's like at his core, he's still not really like a good person until his sacrifice at the end, which I mean, the whole point of that to me is that it's like he finally decides to, instead of running away from, what he's done, he finally decides to do like a selfless thing for another person out of like respect as well for the fact that she showed him there was a better way. I like how that was
right.
done. I'm obviously skipping ahead a little bit because I wanted to, talk about the takedown sequence, and now we're done with that. There's the other part I
Right.
wanted to talk about as well, which is the Celine confrontation. Again, as I said, Celine doesn't get a lot to work with in this movie, and she probably needed some more attention. But what we get of her in this scene and like the dialogue between her and Rumi is like, goddamn. Like the part where Rumi's like, why couldn't you love me? And Selena's like, I do. And she's like, all of me. And her voice
Yeah.
reverberates as the Han Moon is destroyed. It's like, that's the moment. And that scene's so pivotal because, like, you can feel in that moment, Rumi's like, holy shit, she's the reason for all my problems. She gave me this complex that destroyed my relationships just moments ago. Because she starts off the scene coming in, like, still with this complex of self hatred where she's like, all right, I've fucked everything up. You need to kill me, like, right now. She straight up gives Celine the sword and is like, strike me down before I destroy the Han Moon. And Celine's reaction,
Right.
like, where she's like, no, I'm not going to kill you. I promise to protect you and care for you. And she's like, okay, but did you though?
Yeah.
And like the more she speaks, the more Rumi seems to realize in real time, oh, this whole thing was fucked. Like fundamentally.
Right.
Like she has that come to Jesus moment and she's suddenly all um and she's like and she like tosses away everything and she's like, um, all right, if this is the Han Moon I'm supposed to protect, I'm glad to see it destroyed. And I will say this. I genuinely wondered if they would just end the movie there and then just pick it up again in the sequel. That would be an insane move, but I'd kind of respect it. Not that the ending we got wasn't like amazing, because it was. I'm just saying, what if there was like a two-parter and you ended on like Rumi saying that line and like going on a
Oh
potential
gosh.
villain arc? Like that would be some
Yeah.
crazy work. But yeah, that scene with Celine is great. Um, it's like, I mean, it's an archetypal, confront your toxic parent thing. It's really well done in this, and the lines really like stuck with me a lot. Um, moving on from
Yeah.
that, there's a couple more songs I wanted to talk about. There's obviously Your Idol, which like a lot of people go crazy over. It's where the Sacha Boys finally reveal their true selves, because after this whole thing,
Yeah.
everyone's emotions are so haywire that Kima steps in and he's like, he kind of like, you know, it plays to Zoe's insecurities and Mira's and even Bobby's. And the Sacha Boys invite
Right.
all these fans to like a tower, where they're gonna hold a concert, and they're low key hypnotized at this point. The thing that I also like about this part where they get hypnotized is also that like Zoe and Mira, or at least Zoe, are like immediately trying to solve the problem. Like they're not
Yeah.
just, because they also feel like they could have handled the situation better, like with Rumi, where they're genuinely concerned for her and they automatically want to help, even though they had that confrontation. But of course, Kima steps in, and that doesn't really go too well. You
Yeah.
have this whole setup where they play Your Idol at the concert, where the Saja Boys are finally going sicko mode. They've
Yeah.
completely unmasked. They're now in their true demon forms because everyone's hypnotized. It doesn't matter anymore. They're just like in this for the love of the game. The Saja Boys start like fucking floating in the air, doing crazy shit, while Your Idol bangs in the background. You got Kima hyping up Baby in the background as he's doing his rap verses. You've got him just generally being like a good background for the show. And after that whole sequence is done, I mean, you even see like Zoe and Mira get captivated by this. So it's like you really feel everything is fucking over. And then
Yeah.
you have Rumi stepping in, with like, her voice, and
Yeah.
Kima puts her on the stand like she's like a witness in a court case, and he's like, all of these terrible things have happened, and she's like, they have. And the way she delivers those lines, her voice actor is named Arden Cho. The way that Arden Cho delivers these lines is like really tickles my spine. Just the very like concise, like, um yes, it is destroyed, referring to the Han Moon. My friends do know, like, specifically she says they do after like Kima points that out. Like,
Yeah.
there's so much aura in those lines. And
Yes.
then when Kima kind of delivers his final question, where he's like, "And the Han Moon is destroyed," he expects that he thinks he's cooked Rumi with this. Just completely destroyed her self confidence. And then Rumi's like, "Yeah, it's gone, so we can form a new one." And then the most
Right.
hype moment in the movie starts, where she starts singing what it sounds like. And this is basically, I will say this, on my first watch through of the movie, one big like criticism I had in my head was like, the Huntrix girls don't really talk out like the whole situation after the fact. It kind of just cuts to them being cool with each other, like in the bathhouse, and I thought that was a bit underbaked. And then when I rewatched, I reconsidered this criticism because they actually do talk it out. It's just not in a regular dialogue scene, it's in the lyrics of what it sounds like. The whole song
Yeah.
begins with Rumi being like, "I've lived this lie and I didn't trust you to be on my side." I'm not like completely getting the lyrics right. Um, but she's basically lamenting on the fact that she didn't come clean earlier and like believe in her friends to support her no matter what. And then
Yeah.
her friends come forward. They're captivated by this new song. Zoe shows up and she sings like a verse about herself. Um, that sounds so wrong the way I said it. It's like it's like it sounds like she stole the spotlight. No, I mean she sings a verse opening up about her own side of this and like her own struggles that like caused the miscommunication. Mira does the same. I really like her "jagged edges meet the light instead" line. I thought
Yeah.
that was a
That's
great
my
one.
favorite.
Um,
That's my favorite lyric in the
I really
song.
love the main chorus as well, where it's like, um, "We've been shattered into a million in pieces, and we can't go back again, but we've learned to. I'm not. I am absolutely not getting the lyrics right offhand, but we've learned to love the beauty in the broken glass. That is a fire line right there, and it speaks perfectly to the themes of the movie. And you have their like
Right.
almost magical girl transformation as like they continue singing this song and they start like beating up the Saja boys. You have that iconic moment where like Zoe kind of like sees Mystery Saja's face and she's like, "You're just my type, but oh well, because I gotta kill you because you're evil." And then she just like ganks
Right.
him,
Yeah.
which like,
It's it,
I mean, she's available now, so then hit me up.
yeah. Fuck it. And
Yeah.
yeah.
And
You
then
also
there's
forgot.
the way that Abby goes out. By the way, Abby's voiced by Pro ZD. Uh, I just thought I'd
I
mention
did
that.
hear about that. Yeah. I forgot about that.
Abby goes out by Mira literally like tracing cuts along his abs, and he just like
Yeah.
burns. It's so funny. And while the Saja boys go down, you have Genu making his sacrifice where he steps in and protects Rumi. Um, I really love his like "You gave me my soul and now I'm giving it to you" line because again,
Yeah.
it's less so that I think he does it out of love. It's more so I think he does it out of respect because Rumi is the one person who's managed to like show him a better path forward, and he's repaying that by saving her life, and
Right.
letting her continue to live this great life she's lived. Um, and I don't know what they're gonna do with Genu in like the sequel if that ends up happening, which in all likelihood it will with how this movie has like succeeded. I don't
For
know if he's
sure.
going to come back, but there's a lot of interesting avenues for that. If not, I genuinely think this is a great way to end his character because like his arc is just his arc is complete. His arc in relevance to Rumi is complete. Like their dynamic, we've seen pretty much all of it we've needed to see. Like they're also cute in the fan AUs, don't get me wrong, but like I think this is probably enough that we need in the main like canon. I mean, if they want to bring him back and they want to have like more interactions and develop their like dynamic further, I'm open to that too. I'm just saying I
Yeah.
love the way that he ended, that his story ended, and I love how it played into the song. And this song
Yeah. And
just keeps going as they continue like fighting. And then they have like their magical girl moment where they go and like defeat Kima with the power of friendship, which I say it like it's a bad thing. It's not. Power of friendship moments can actually really work when they're done well. And here it is done fantastically. And it's just great when you see them all in the sky in the end and they've won the day and, they're just descending and they've said all the words they needed to say to each other. And now they're cool and they can finally go to the bathhouse together, which you then see, and that ends off the movie.
right. And that said, before we just like act like that's the end of the movie, we completely forgot to talk about "Free"
Oh
from
yeah,
earlier,
free. Yeah.
the other song in the movie. I will say of the main songs, it might be by default my least favorite, but that's the
Well, it
key
just
word.
doesn't hit.
By
It just doesn't like hit as much as the other ones do because it's a different type of song. It's not really
right.
fair. Like it's still a really good song in context. It's just like it's not as much of a
Yeah.
bop as the other ones by
Yeah, in a
like
weird way,
just its nature.
it kind of in a weird way, it kind of reminds me of like at least from a personal experience on my end, it reminds me a lot of The Lion King 2, where that movie actually has a very similar thing where the songs in the movie are great, but the love song of the movie, Love Will Find a Way, it's not bad. It's just the weakest largely by default. It just doesn't I've grown to appreciate it much more as an adult, but as a kid I was like, yeah, I like this song, but it's not my favorite. It just doesn't hit like the others in the soundtrack. So I agree. I agree. In this case, it's kind of a similar thing. But there were some really nice. I really liked a lot of the directing and lighting choices in that scene. The lyrics were nice, and oh yeah, okay, kind of a sidebar. But speaking of like stuff with Genu and Mira, we also we got to shout out the best character in the movie, Derpy Tiger. That
All right.
beautiful,
I mean,
that
I'm
beautiful
partial to the
bastard.
three-eyed bird, but like Derpy Tiger's also
Fair.
pretty good.
That I love the way it was designed. I liked seeing an animal that felt like it was from a painting as opposed to like just, like don't get me wrong, if it was a regular tiger, I'm sure the movie would make it look gorgeous, but I liked that it had those
Yeah.
weird protruding fangs and the big eyes. And
I
I
like the
fucking
joke where
the
it kept knocking over the plant and just like couldn't get
that
it
was
back up
so
again.
The animation was so perfect on that. Like, I love everything they did with that tiger. Also, the bit right before your idol, where it like nudges Genu with his friendship bracelet that Rumi gives him around its teeth, like that would hurt me a little bit.
Bro,
Like,
that
that was
tiger
so
was like calling them the fuck out. Like that
yeah.
tiger was like,
It
"You've been a bad boy, Genu."
even just the visual of it sitting completely still and then just phasing back into the ground was so. And the joke of the fucking I made, like, why does the bird wear a hat? I made it for the tiger, but the bird keeps taking it. Like,
The
that's such a
delivery
good
on that
little
is
bit.
so good too. Like it's so casual in such like a funny way. But yeah,
Right.
I mean, we've gone over all the main songs. Like, it's a
True.
genuinely great musical as well as being like an awesome like action movie, and an awesome character
Yeah,
movie. Um,
for sure.
I think now would
And
be a good time to switch back to Fantastic Four a little bit because I don't think we've
yeah,
talked too much about that. Um,
right. I don't have. I will say I also don't have too much else to really say about K-pop Demon Hunters beyond I need to rewatch it and I think it's a banger. So yeah,
that's
with
very fair. I want to talk a little bit more about how like just general thoughts on the characters and the comedy at the end, because there's a bit more, but that's about it. Like,
right. And we can
I think
kind of
we're
do
out
that
of
as
all the
well in
big
case.
segments because like I don't have a whole lot else to talk about with Fantastic Four either, to be honest.
I'm in
Like
the same boat. Yeah.
I got
It,
the main points I wanted across with it. Like I think the movie's a greatly fun time. I love all the central performances. I really bought the chemistry of the family, and I just love all these like world building details. Like
yeah.
honestly, I'm not
Herbie's
sure what
great.
else to say. Oh yeah, Herbie. I almost forgot about him.
Herbie's Herbie's really fun. He's not used a ton in the movie, but the design was great. The effects were awesome. I
Yeah,
liked the jokes they
absolutely.
did with him. My
Yeah.
my brother got we went to see the movie at an AMC. He got like the friggin' Herbie popcorn bucket, like the big
Let's
ass one.
go. Let's
Like it
go.
was a those things are so funny to me because they're so impractical, but they're so fascinating.
Exactly.
I also have to say, not the standout of the movie, but I do like how with Shalabal, they still got at the tragedy of the Silver Surfer character. Like when I liked that they still had the whole like unwilling participant, but does it for the sake of saving her world. And I love the scene of Johnny like
I was about
turning
to say that.
the cries of the worlds she helped destroy back on her. Like that was so interesting. I don't think I've ever seen another Fantastic Four story do that. If not that, then I just haven't read many of them. But I really thought that was a good haunting scene. And again, I liked how it showed Johnny as genuinely smart and competent. Because while I love a fun member to like a bunch of tough guys or serious characters, I think what makes Johnny so interesting in this movie is that it remembers, oh yeah, he's a scientist and he went through astronaut training. And I like that he enjoys space and the thrill of like the sky and flying and stuff. Like that was entertaining and helped characterize him a lot for me. In addition to, enjoying like the merch and the love and attention from the people that they protect. It was and also the Silver Surfer effect looked good. I unironically saw some people being like, this looks like ass. Mid Journey AI could do better. I'm like, shut the fuck up. No, we're not doing this.
It does not
It's
look
a
like
silver.
ass. It looks good. I don't know what people are talking
Yeah,
about.
there was a great meme I saw. It was like a screen cap from Twitter where somebody it was like a picture of Shia LaBeouf and somebody said where was it? I just had it in my phone. Yeah, it was a new look at the Silver Surfer, I guess from like a few days ago from a TV spot or something. And somebody said, "Why do they use CGI when they could just cover someone in liquid mercury?" Like that's what it feels like
That's
people
what
want
people
out of
sound
Marvel.
like when they say this shit. Like,
Exactly.
unironically.
Right, my mistake. I didn't know we had to build a whole rocket ship and go to a black hole to usurp Tom Cruise. My bad.
Real. Yeah.
um yeah, I guess in terms of other stuff in the movie. Oh yeah, the climax was really good as
Yeah, the
well. I
climax. And I
love
guess we can also talk about the baby. The
yes,
baby
Frank
was an
Wood.
interesting aspect of the plot. Like, with Franklin, I was like, Huh, so we're doing a pregnancy and then baby plot. This is an interesting move. Like, I thought the whole movie was just going to be, oh, they're on a time crunch from Galactus showing up. They're trying to figure out how to save the world. But you throw in this baby,
Right.
it's like, huh, what could they do with this? And they do really cool things with it. I already mentioned that, like, I love Sue's, like, reject the trolley problem speech.
Right.
And I love, like, the way they kind of, like, figure it out. And it also leads to some genuinely good like conflict between Reed and Sue, with like Reed being
Yes.
like, "Yeah, I'm not saying we should do this, but here's an option." And Sue is like, "You even considering this, even if you're ultimately not going to do it, is like it really hurts me because like I don't even
Yeah.
want to think about this as a mother." Like, even if you're not going to go through with it, obviously, like, the fact that this is even something that crosses your mind, like, kind of terrifies me. And she's honest to him about
Yeah.
that. And he understands her. And that's really nice. And in the end, they kind of
Right.
compromise where it's like, they do have the baby out there to lure Galactus because Galactus wants the child. I don't really
Yeah.
understand why. It was not super well explained, or maybe I just wasn't paying attention. But what I gathered was
Right.
that Galactus kind of wants the baby to be his successor somehow. I don't know how,
So
but
what so what they did in the movie was so they said that it's revealed that Franklin has this energy in him. We don't know how. Maybe it's from his parents both having superpowers. Maybe it's probably that in some way. But it's revealed that somehow Franklin has this energy inside of him called the power cosmic. I don't know much about it in the comics, but from my understanding, beings with the power cosmic are like that is the like energy to trump all other energies in the Marvel universe in terms of like scale and force. It's like a natural part of existence, basically. But in the movie, in this case, the power cosmic, it's similar to Galactus. It's what like he wields. It's how he controls Silver Surfer and gives her power. So he basically wants to choose somebody with the power cosmic to, become a successor and finally be free of his hunger, so that somebody else can take this place as like a natural order of things for consuming planets or this live like this force of nature.
yeah, it's not.
So
I don't really need it to be like 100% well explained because it works in the movie for what it is. I like that
yeah,
they come to a compromise where they're like, yeah, we have to use the baby somewhat to lure Galactus in, but we're going to make sure the baby is safe above all else. So they kind of do this
right,
fake out where they take the baby off the board and replace it with a fake crib. And that actually directly sacrifices their plan working without some outside interference. Because Galactus
yeah,
notices they've duped him, but like ultimately they were going to take that over like sacrificing the baby. Um,
right,
and they managed to make it work anyway. Um, I really like the climax. The final battle is cool. And I
yeah,
obviously knew that Sue wasn't going to die, but like even still, seeing the reactions of the people around her, just
yes,
hopeless, was like really
yeah,
powerful. Like,
yeah. That was like that especially like the like with fucking Pedro and like him just I
yeah, he
again
did such
what
a
I meant
great job in that scene. Like, damn.
the whole thing I mentioned earlier about like him playing it as both like, no, I'm the dad, I'm the leader of this group, I've got this under control. This has to be under control, even though I'm dying on the inside. I felt that most in that moment, I think. Like that
Exactly.
was heartbreaking to watch in context. And I love the visual metaphor during that climax of Sue pushing Galactus through that portal in kind of like, like as sort of like a visual metaphor of like pregnancy almost. Like
Yeah, true,
or
true.
it was a very like Sue was always like
That's how it
pushing
feels to give
herself
birth.
right. Sue was always pushing
Pushing a
herself to the
fucking
limit,
space
but
god through a portal.
yeah, and Sue's always pushing herself to the limit, but it's always worth it in the end, and she is rewarded greatly for it. Um, and yeah, I speaking of, I guess, Franklin and all that. So the credit scene, right, or the mid-credit scene,
Right.
nothing too crazy in terms of execution. It is interesting to see Franklin a few years older. That's interesting. I was a little surprised we got our first look at the Doom mask. I that was a little interesting. To my knowledge, the credit scene, we know it was directed by the Russo brothers, and I think that was Downey on set in the costume. So we might see that in Doomsday in full. We're probably going to see that scene in full in Doomsday. Um, I'm curious to see where it goes because again, this is one thing. This is actually part of why I'm excited for Doomsday. I genuinely can't predict what the plot of this movie is going to be. Like, okay, Secret Wars, I know it's going to be something regarding, like, okay, multiverse worlds colliding or Battle World, but I'm like, how do we get there? Like, it's kind of it's honestly kind of a reverse almost of the previous Avengers movies. With the previous ones, it was like, okay, Infinity War happens. What the hell happens in Endgame? Because mind you, the marketing for that movie specifically tried its best to hide the time travel stuff. So we didn't know for sure if it was going to be a time travel plot going into the film. Most people didn't. But now it's kind of the inverse, where it's like, okay, part two is where we kind of have a better idea of what's coming. But the first half is like, what are we gonna do here? What is Doom like? What's the execution? How much are we
Yeah,
gonna
I mean it's an
focus on
interesting
Doom?
inversion, I guess. I'm maybe gonna get excited. I still find it's very bizarre that they gave Robert Downey Jr. the role of Doom for some fucking reason. I
A lot of
I
people
really
do.
hope it's
Like,
not Victor Von Doom and it's just like some alternate universe variant of Tony Stark because
I'm fairly certain it is there's no way they finally get the Fantastic Four right, and then they're just gonna do other Fantastic Four movies without Doom. I think that'd be a complete waste of the character, and I think like it makes more sense. Like, okay, do one multiverse version of Doom with Downey, then get another actor to play him once there's like, because they're gonna do some kind of like soft MCU reset at this point with these movies. I bet so.
yeah, most
In
likely.
fact, I think it was so I think, which I'm all for. I think that'll help make the continuity a lot more fluid and fun and malleable to changes in like retcons and such.
The thing is, I know that
Especially,
Tony has become Doctor Doom in like at least some comics, so I'm thinking I'm hoping
it would
it's just a variant of Tony who is Doctor Doom
to my
and not
to
Victor.
my knowledge to my knowledge, that has been overblown by like it was like a few, maybe once or twice in a comic, or maybe it was a ruse. I don't remember. There is a run called Infamous Iron Man where Doctor Doom, after the second Secret Wars, feeling unfulfilled with life, tries to become Iron Man. And that does sound interesting from what I've heard. I like the artwork for it, but I don't think that's what we're gonna do in this movie. I think I'm yeah, I don't want to get like too I'm not saying that this is definitively going to be a good movie, but I'm glad I'm excited about it. Like that's what I'm really happy with Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four. They got me excited about where things are going again in addition to being good movies on their own. So, yeah, at the very least the credit scene isn't anything like crazy to write home about, but I am curious to see where it goes cuz for the first time in a minute I genuinely don't know like what the bulk of this next Avengers film is going to be, especially when we remember the cast, because it's all these X-Men played by actors from the Fox movies. It's the obviously the First Steps cast, then all the Thunderbolts. Now Sam's new Avengers, where we get to see some faces we haven't in a minute, like Shang-Chi. Welcome back to the fucking party, man. Where the hell have you been?
Real.
As well as so glad that Namor is coming back. Love that Shuri, M'Baku, and Namor are going to play a big role in it, or at least a role in it. I love those characters. Yeah, and Torres from Brave New World. I really liked the new Falcon, so I'm happy that Danny Ramirez is coming back to play Torres. But as for First Steps itself, I thought it was overall just a great time. Love the
Yeah,
characters, loved
and
the loved 828 or Earth 828, and like
100%.
basically,
One of the things I said to you after I finished watching was that I'm really glad because I thought the movie was actually going to end with the Fantastic Four going through with Galactus and arriving in the main MCU universe, and they'd have to make a sacrifice. But I'm glad it worked out in the end and they got to stay in the world that they love because, like,
yeah,
that would feel so, like, fake and artificial just for the sake of getting them in the main timeline. Whereas, like,
right,
this really feels true to what, like, the movie should have been. Like, with
Yeah.
like where the characters ended up. Um, and generally, I also want to say, like, real quick, that this movie, I mean, I know that we've kind of been saying it's charming. It's a very funny movie, too. Like,
Yeah,
it's
there's
not
some
like
good
laugh
jokes
out
in
loud
there.
hilarious or anything. It's just the banter between them and the chemistry is like really there. And it's some of that, like, I know people get on the MCU's ass for like some like weird, like unnatural dialogue, you know, it's a bit overblown, but I get where people are coming from sometimes. When the MCU does
Yeah.
like dialogue and banter right, though, it's like golden. It's electric, and it
Yeah.
works so well in this movie because you see how they
And the
have these bonds and like what the kind of people they are, and you can tell they care about each other even when they have like these little arguments and banter. And it's also like
yeah,
sweet.
and
I love that joke
the
as
family
well
dynamic.
with the car seat at the end. Um, well, it was more
Yeah,
so my
that was
parents
really
who
good.
really liked it because my parents explained to me that is like the ultimate parent joke because if even superheroes can't figure out how to get their baby in a car seat right, like that's a universal parent experience. Like they probably experienced
Yeah,
that with me when I was a young one.
I bet. Yeah, I bet the same with me and my parents for sure. It's yeah, that bit was so good. I liked how even though it went on a little long, it didn't feel forced. It didn't feel like they were dragging out the joke. It was just well executed. It was well handled. I like that they also had Thing in the scene, so you also have good CGI effects going on with like him interacting with everybody. So that was yeah, that was just a really good bit.
I like that they
And
established that the thing can still grow a beard, except it's just made of rocks.
yeah, that was so interesting. I thought it was going to be distracting for me, but I liked how it looked in the movie. And yeah, and of course the friggin' what time has it been? No, Johnny, what time is it? No, I don't wanna say it. I don't wanna say it. It's clobbering time. Like that was excellently built up.
It's
Bravo,
almost like
bravo.
Johnny is like in the I know he's saying it in the movie, but it's almost like out of movie ver I don't know how to explain this. It's almost like the movie yelling at itself to embrace its bookiness, where like Johnny
Yes,
kind of represents like the comic book fan base, and like the thing
right.
represents, you know, studios being reluctant to make comic book movies really stand out as comic booky, and eventually they just give in, and the thing says his iconic catchphrase. I'm sure this probably wasn't intended, but like that's just a funny read that like kind of speaks to like how we're finally getting a lot more movies that truly embrace comic bookiness. Because I mean, I know one of the big things with Fan Four Stick, which again I haven't watched, but like everyone says this about it, is that it just doesn't feel like a comic book movie at all, let alone a Fantastic Four movie. It's just a miserable drab time for like 2 and whatever fucking runtime hours it is. Like
Yeah.
I'm
It's
really glad
I
that
sorry,
superhero
I got
movies you know, Superman, of course, and now Fantastic Four are just super colorful and like lighthearted and fantastical in their elements somewhat. You got Mole Man in the Underground City, you got the Fantastic Car, you got Irby. So many like good things that really make the world feel like it's taken right out of a comic book instead of just these are comic
yeah.
book characters in like just our world, except there's no difference. Like, you
Right,
know?
and unlike the previous Fantastic Four films, from everything I've gathered, this one got what was most important about the movie, not only the family dynamic, obviously, but also the adventuring aspect of yeah, there's an underground city and like these different corners of the world with all these with the machines when they start going up for the portal, but then or the teleportation, but then there's also like the space in this movie. I'm sure from a technical standpoint like, I mean, you know, we've seen like spaceships and planets blowing up and black holes before, but the presentation and scale in context of the movie is very well done. That's the other thing I really like about this movie. When like just whether it's the town or the final battle, everything with Galactus and like the greater unknown, there was this sense of scale and like width and scope to the film that I really
Yeah, and you always
appreciated. It
want that
felt
in a space sequence. I was so happy to
it
see a space sequence because astronomy and space are like some of my oldest autistic hyperfixations. I fucking love space so much. And it's like so nice to see like a whole sequence about them having I didn't mention this earlier. I just love that there's a whole bit of the movie that takes place in space, and they like confront Galactus and all that. And you're right, the scale is there. Like everything seems so menacing. I actually got chills when like they see that planet being destroyed, and like Reed's casually like, that is a 13% bigger planet than Earth. Like,
Yeah, that's like, oh shit, that's a good quick way to establish that's a good way to work with like Reed's science dialogue while also establishing the stakes in that moment 100%. It's yeah, and oh man, the friggin' again, like the whole thing with the black hole and like just the time dilation subversion against Shalabal was such a smart, but like it was a great way to have your visuals and also like do something that's interesting and fun to execute in a fight scene. Whereas the other movies, like I mean, the second movie, the second Fantastic Four, the 2004 sequel, the 2007 sequel to the 2005 film Rise of the Silver Surfer, it did have a little globe trotting, like going to a few different areas around the world, but it was mainly like a forest and a few other cities. And then Fant Four Stick, they go to an alternate dimension, and it's like the most boring alternate dimension ever. It's not interesting. It's just kind of a desert with like some vaguely glowing green energy within the ground and stuff that sometimes like erupts out. It's not visually compelling at all. So it's nice to see a Fantastic Four film where it gets the family dynamic right and it's adventurous and big in scale and fun and just awesome. Like there's really no other way for me to put it. I thought this movie was awesome. And even people say, I've seen some people say that like they didn't like it or think it was all that, which is fine obviously. But I've seen some people being like, no, this movie they still didn't get it right or like the execution was not good here. I'm like, I don't see it. Like I'm sorry, I don't see what they're talking about. Because like it's just I really don't understand when I think of this movie, I'm like, what do people take issue with here? Like, oh, it has exposition in the beginning to fill us in on what's happened. Okay, so did Superman. It worked there too. Or
so does
and
K-pop
by
Demon
compare
Hunters as well.
yeah, and by comparison, I think Fantastic Four almost has a little less to like catch up on compared to Superman because with Superman, you have like the first metahumans and Superman's history, but then also the Justice Gang. And mind you, I think the movie does it well, but by comparison, the main cast of the Fantastic Four is like almost always on screen together for the most part. I can't think of many there's not many moments where it's like one character off on their own for a while. It's usually always like twos or even threes or fours, obviously. And or I guess fives with the baby. And so it's like yeah, point is with this movie, even when people call it bad, I'm like, okay, you do you, but I don't fucking know what movie you watched. We did not watch the same movie if this is another bad Fantastic Four film. I just can't agree with that. Um and yeah, I really don't know much else to say. I really like both of these movies, and I'm happy to rewatch them soon because they are just
100%,
so
100%. I
entertaining and
just to
inspiring.
finish off with K-pop Demon Hunters, I do want to talk about a little bit more of the lighter aspects. We delved into like all the heavy like plot elements and like some of the coolest bits with like
Yeah,
the opening scene and the takedown sequence. Like I also want to talk about some of the comedy and just like the general like vibe of the movie because it has
fair.
such a great like fun energy to it where like even when like the most plot important events aren't happening, like something interesting's always happening on screen. Like you have
Yeah,
the dynamic between the Saja boys and Huntrix where like they kind of like troll each other with like they try to get one-ups on each other in the middle of these fan meetings. It's fun because the fans obviously can't know what's going on, so they have to pretend to just be like regular like idol groups.
yeah,
Like
that was such a
I
fun
like the
thing.
scene where they just like show they just have like the Sacha boys just introduce fucking Huntrix in their like leather clad armor and have them slide down the slides and there's like an awkward screeching noise. And then they play well, they don't play the game show together necessarily, but like they have this bow and Huntrix and they can't bow right because their backs are
Yeah.
and Zoe even has a little ouch my back line
And even the demons are like just so perfectly straight backed as they bow. It's such
Yeah,
a good
exactly.
visual.
And I like the part where they're doing like the convention and like Rumi gets them to sit with them to like stop them
The
from stealing their
sleeping bag bit
fans. And it
that was
fucking
already
leads to Zoe's "what's up" line, and then also the fucking barking mystery line part, which is kind of crazy, honestly. Um, and then
the
there's also
Zipper.
the romance and Abby shenanigans, and like all the fans coming up with these ship names for them, which is like genuinely
Right.
a really funny bit. Um,
I especially loved how the sleeping bag bit came out because you already had the joke earlier in the movie of Mira, like who else wears like a sleeping bag to the Met Gala? That was already funny. But then you have like there were fans that stayed up all night to see you, or like waited out all night to see you. And then you see those fans in sleeping bags, and it's a good bit. But then it's the Saja boys, and it's like, oh, they really are like messing with their style.
I know, right?
I
It's
also
like there's so many good
speaking
bits
of
in
the
this movie. It's like the main thing I was kind of concerned about going into this movie was that the humor wouldn't land because like I had a slight concern that maybe because this is K-pop, like they're gonna turn up the quirk factor to 1,000 to the point where it's like actively annoying. Um,
right,
and it turned out they did not do that because the jokes are actually really funny, and even when there's a bit of that like I don't know cringe humor, like with that like over exaggerated animation of like Zoe and Mira seeing like the hot boys. Um, with
right.
like which is genuinely really funny with how they animated it with like all of the all of
Yeah,
like the shit piling on top of each other and the
that was my
fucking
favorite
bit
part
where
of that
like
bit.
they eat where Mira just eats the popcorn that is being
That
that is being spilled
that is
from Zoe's
having
eyes.
having a character's eyes go big when seeing someone they think is hot is one idea. It's already a funny enough concept if you can get it executed right. But then having those eyes turn into abs, and then those abs turn into corn, and then that corn gets buttered by a button flying off a shirt, and then the heat from their blushes turns it into popcorn that another character starts eating out of a bowl. Like, that is fucking brilliant building of a joke right there. That is hilarious animated comedy in
It's kind of
execution
the exact
and
kind of
concept.
comedy that like I kind of like to do with my friends in like some role plays and stuff. Like
It,
and like
it,
that's why I really
it
like the
really
comedy
is.
in this movie. It's so creative. And even when it's not
It,
particularly creative, it's also just really funny. Like the first scene where they introduce Kima and the demons, and Jinu comes in with his boy band. They make like a goofy ass sound like when they hit their pose, and it's really good. But there's
right.
also the whole bit where like Kima's a bit like skeptical, but he's like, "Okay, I'll hear you out" when they strike the pose. Um,
Yeah.
like he's like, I don't know what you're doing with this, but I'm gonna let you cook. And
Yeah,
then
might as
the
well.
fact that it leads into another joke later where like they're collecting the souls from like the harvests from Soda Pop going viral, and you
Yeah.
just cut to like Kima just like singing the song to himself in the background a little bit, and he's
Yeah.
like, "What? It's catchy." The fact that even the great Lord of the Demons himself is singing along to it just like makes the joke so much better. And you really believe that Kima himself has just bought into the Sacha Boys hype when when he's fucking hyping up Baby Sacha from the background with his like flame form, like in Your
Right. It
Idol.
was just
Like that man is
yeah,
locked in
that
now. Like he himself is a fan.
he is a fan and he's a part of the band. It's yeah, that was the comedy in this movie is very it feels like I've heard about,
And
the
I
whole thing
really
with
like
improv of
yeah.
like the yes and idea. A lot of bits in this movie feel like that where it's like so there were people in line that were waiting for autographs that were sleeping outside. Yes, and those people remain in sleeping bags when they get in line. Yes, and it's the Saja boys. Yes, and they join them in the autographs and it just keeps building into separate jokes and splintering and it was so and what was also nice is the jokes didn't undermine the emotional moments as well. Like they didn't feel like, oh, we got to have a joke in this moment because we had a serious moment. No, like all the jokes felt balanced, or there was a segue from the serious stuff to any more comedic
I
stuff.
do want to also
Yeah,
shout out a joke that I thought was pretty funny as well. Where like when like Soda Pop is blowing up, Well, first you have
Yeah.
that joke where like Bobby is looking at like the fan club of the Saja Boys, like just scrolling through like an Instagram like app. And seeing all the guys doing like the
Right.
shoulder thing. And then it cuts to him doing the shoulder thing because he's caught up. And you just the camera pans over. I don't think it pans over. You just see Zoe also just like shimmying up to him doing the same thing. And then like the other two girls are like, watch the shoulders. And then that's
Yeah.
already funny enough, but then the scene continues on with Bobby going over to the window, looking out at the city, and he's like, "Well, it's just social media numbers anyway, so it's not the end of the world." And then you immediately cut to the Huntrix perspective, where like the Hanmoon is breaking apart at the seams, something that Bobby cannot see, and you just
Yeah.
see their faces right after he says that line. And I
It's
know I
just
mentioned
so
Bobby being the GOAT earlier, but can I just talk about him for a second? I love that they did not. Oh, he has another funny joke where he's like practicing the choreography for Golden with the girls, and he just fucking whacks a guy in the face by
I
accident
know.
while doing the dance. Like,
That was so good.
I was just saying though, like, I really love how Bobby is like genuinely a good person and like a good manager for them. Like he does so much work for like to make sure that the Huntrix girls are okay. And he even says when like they're off stage and Rumi's having some problems, like he's like, my girls will sing when they're ready, which is something that most K-pop managers would not be caught dead saying. Um,
Yeah.
I like that
Yeah,
he I like that he's just a guy who's chill. Like it would have been so easy to make him like a corrupt asshole character and make him like a minor problem. But no, like he's just good. He's so
right.
kind to them that like they actively try to save him when he's taken away and they're like super concerned for him. Like
Yeah.
I love his dynamic with them. He feels like an older brother figure almost. Um to like the trio. And it's nice to
Yeah.
have that because in a lot of animated movies, or even a lot of movies in general, that manager character would kind of be pigeonholed as an asshole. Like, and that's not to say, just to be clear, like, obviously, I don't think that, like, the K pop industry should be, like, whitewashed or anything, where, like, we pretend that, like, nothing bad goes on with these idols. But, like,
Oh yeah,
Huntrix
no,
kind of has their own situation where, like, they're specifically demon hunters as well. Um,
yeah.
and we do show that like Celine still has like imprinted toxic like mindsets in onto Rumi, for example. Um,
Yeah.
but like even with like the other girls, there's some stuff going on like with a lot of their like bubbling emotions. Um, I think the problems of the K-pop industries are actually ironically pretty well like reflected by the Saja Boys. I know you said that you wanted to see a bit more of the Saja Boys, which is totally fair. I kind of did too. But the thing about them is, I think besides Jinu, they're kind of meant to be like stereotypes of like specific like K-pop idols, and they're all kind of meant to represent like one aspect of like K-pop idolization culture in my reading anyway. Like for example, you have Abby who kind of like represents like the sexualization aspect of it with like everyone thinking his abs are hot. You have Romance who's kind of like I think supposed to represent like parasociality with like parasocial kind of like romantic relationships that fans build in their head. You have Mystery, who I believe is supposed to like represent how a lot of K-pop idols don't really have their whole identities like broadcast. They have like a very curated like corporate image that looks like that's kind of mysterious, attractive but mysterious. You don't really know what the
Right.
person's like. Even Baby Saja kind of has like an infantilization thing going for him because if you think about it, Baby Saja is clearly a grown ass man who like
Yeah.
but he acts kind of he puts on this baby persona because there's a whole like thing of infantilization in the K-pop industry. So weirdly enough, I
Yeah.
feel like the movie captures like what's wrong with the industry with these demon characters, even if there's not much to work with them.
Interesting. Huh. Well, yeah. That's an
And
interesting way of looking
Huntrix
at
is a
it.
great contrast to them as well because all of the characters have so much of their personality, even imbued in their stage performances. Like, yeah, the girls are not quite the same when they're just kind of relaxing compared to like when they're like doing their performances. But broadly speaking, like these are still the same people and you can believe that. Like they're putting themselves into their songs. Golden is literally a song about them and they're able to achieve that authentic like expression, which I think sets Huntrix apart from like a lot of the more curated like idol groups. Like the Saja Boys is supposed to represent one of those. It is literally an image curated by the Demon Lord and Genu to basically serve as the most stereotypical possible K-pop boy band, versus
Yeah.
this group of girls who are clearly very passionate and like really love their craft. They're in it for the love of the game. And I really like how the movie does that contrast. Even with like the Saja Boys maybe needing a bit more time in the oven or maybe a bit more like time on screen, I still think they really serve their role well in the story. Um, like for the exact reason I just said. And
Yeah.
I don't know if you have anything else to add to that point. I just kind of felt like bringing up the Saja Boys thing again because I know you
No,
mentioned it earlier in the podcast.
yeah, no, that's a good thing to bring up. Sorry. I just remembered something I want to talk about. So
Oh yeah, of
it
course.
was announced, this is relevant. It was announced earlier today that Netflix is considering making 2 sequels to K-pop Demon Hunters after the big success for
Oh,
it. So we might get a trilogy, but here's what has me concerned. The discussing film post that mentions this on Blue Sky says, and I quote, okay, Netflix is considering making 2 sequels to K-pop Demon Hunters. A live action remake is also being considered.
I mean,
Fucking why? If true, fucking why?
please no. Okay,
I
to be fair, okay, if they did it with like if they teamed up with like actual like K-pop bands with like all their advanced choreography and music to make like something set in the K-pop Demon Hunters universe in live action, I would actually not care too much because that could actually be like really cool because a lot of those bands are super talented. It's just don't remake the movie that already exists but in live action. That's so fucking
yeah.
dumb. Like just make a
So
new movie. You can set it in the same universe, sure. It would be
I
cool to
heard
see
another
like how the bands do it in live action. It's just guys, no.
I heard
Stop doing
another
the
thing
same
earlier
movie
that
again. Like
right. I heard another thing earlier that said they might even be considering like some kind of stage production or something related to the
oh,
movie,
I
which
would go
honestly,
to that so hard,
yeah,
bro.
I
I
agree. That would be fucking
What Netflix
awesome.
should do is consider a theatrical release, honestly. Now,
Yeah.
I've heard the opinion that like a theatrical release for this movie would have been like a bad move back before it became super popular because like it was like kind of destined to do better on Netflix itself. But now that it's shown to be like super popular, why not give it like at least a limited theatrical run? Because you know I'd watch it. Like it did kind of get a
Yeah.
theatrical release in like some theaters, but I don't think it was like widely available everywhere. It's like I don't know. It would be cool. Obviously, I know that like theater stuff costs extra money for the budget, and that's probably why they're not going to do it. Because just because a movie does well on Netflix doesn't necessarily translate to a good box office like budget or
Yeah.
profit. I mean, so I totally understand if Netflix is like, we don't know, like this could go badly for us, and we're kind of doing well as we are here with like it succeeding on our platform. So we might as well not like screw up a good thing by like making the wrong decision now, which like is kind of standard like corporate like logic, but I guess it checks out in this case.
Yeah. I guess so. I
I'm just
honestly,
glad the
whatever
movie
happens,
exists, honestly. It's great. Like
yeah, even if we don't get sequels, like I'm perfectly fine with the movie we got because it is so good. And any errors or flaws I could have with it on rewatch or any like minor gripes I might have do not overtake the whole in the slightest. And it really is just like this, and I'm honestly happy that this film looks like it is becoming like a new cultural phenomena. I
right?
saw it
Yeah.
described earlier. I saw it described earlier that apparently some people at Netflix consider this is like the Frozen to Netflix, where nobody knew it was going to get this big, even if they knew they had something special. And I think that is a fair comparison. Now, I hope they don't like force a sequel when the plot isn't ready to go or the plot needs time to develop.
I
I
think if
hope
they're
the
going to make a
film,
sequel, they should definitely at least have Maggie Kang and the original like cast or not cast necessarily. I mean,
oh
obviously
yeah,
I
like
do want the cast, but like the production crew
bring
and
back
the
the director.
creative like the storytellers, Like,
Yes,
don't just hand it
100%.
off to some other person who's tasked with continuing the story without really like understanding the story, like, which is what a lot of these studios usually do. If they're gonna make a sequel, I want it to be good. Not that doesn't have to be as great as the original, but it has to at least be good in my opinion. Like,
Right.
I know we discussed this in DMs, but like it could be cool to have like a trilogy focusing on like each of the Huntrix girls, because obviously this one was mostly Rumi's movie. There could be, you know, a movie about Zoe and her cultural disconnects, a movie about Mira and her family. Like those are interesting topics to explore, especially because, as you
Yeah.
said, the other two girls kind of get overshadowed in this, even though they're such like strong presences in their own right. I really love how
Mhm.
like there's a bit of a dichotomy with Zoe in particular, where like she's like the goofiest goofball, like goofiest goober in like some scenes, but like when she locks in, she locks in. Like
Yes. She
she's like
can
a total
snap from
cutie
like
patootie in like most of the scenes, but like she was serving like mad shit in that plane fight. Like she had some of the best bits in that whole thing.
yeah, and I think as well that like yeah, with sorry, I was still thinking about the live action remake thing, so I was a little
I
my
really
brain had
hope that's not true. If they're gonna do a live
yeah,
action, I'm not opposed to a live action thing necessarily, because again, like the choreography of K-pop bands could be cool. It's just don't make it a
yeah.
remake of the already existing story. Just make another
Honestly,
one. Hmm.
honestly, if you want to do a live action film, why not do like a prequel about like some of the first Demon Hunters or whatever? It
Yeah,
wouldn't
sure,
look
why
as
not?
good.
Like
It wouldn't look as good in animation, obviously, but at least it's telling an original story. Like I don't
that's
know,
I mean,
but yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Back on to Zoe. She's probably my favorite of the main trio, as I think she is one of the most entertaining characters in the movie. Has one of the best designs. Is one of the funniest. I do love what they did, of course, with Mira in the movie. I really liked her
Yeah, Mira
internal
doesn't get like a
struggle.
whole lot of appreciation, I feel. Like the fandom is like very largely like Zoe oriented, and also like
Mhm.
I guess Rumi's the main
Oh,
character, so
oh
like
fuck, I meant Rumi. Shit, my bad. I meant Rumi in terms of like
yeah,
her being
yeah,
the
yeah,
main
that's
character.
okay. I do like
I do
yeah,
like
Mira's good
Mira.
though.
I
Like she has a lot of good bits, and like her energy, like she aura farms in a lot of her scenes. I'll just say that. Like she has a lot of like
yeah,
casual aura, and like she's a great like contrast to the other two. Um like I really love how like she's like clearly, even though she's like trying to call Rumi out on like shit that like she believes is like concerning, she does genuinely really care. And like even though she comes off a bit like blunt and difficult, like she's still their friend, and she still like really like cares for them deeply, as I said. Like
yeah.
they're
And
all like really
the
distinct in how they act, and it's really fun. Yeah.
For sure. And yeah, and of course with Rumi, I really enjoyed the struggles that her character went through. I There were a lot of moments in the movie where I don't know if I'd say felt seen is the right like combination of words, but there were moments where I was like, "Oh yeah, I hella empathize with
I mean,
what
as a
this
half
character is
demon, I was
going
very
through."
represented by Rumi on screen. Let me just say
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and obviously like I hinted at, I did really like what they did with Genu's character. I
I
really
mean, I'm
enjoyed.
I'm queer, and I can see how that could be read as a bit of a queer allegory. It's
Oh
not
yeah,
a one-to-one thing, obviously, because like queer people don't
right.
steal people's souls, but like,
Yes.
I mean,
I
unless
to
you
me
want us to.
honestly, maybe this is me jumping to like a darker interpretation that isn't there, but to me when I think of this idea of like okay, an unholy union in a sense of like man and demon and that gives a child. I honestly think that could if in under a certain circumstance you could maybe view that from an allegory of like somebody who was would born out of wedlock be the right term?
Oh yeah,
Or
maybe.
like
I guess. I've
yeah,
been
or
more
born out
serious
there's
than
another
that, but
yeah, there's a darker interpretation I'm thinking about, but I don't want to get into it. But yeah, I definitely saw a little bit of a I agree. I even it's not one to one, but I'm like that's I will say I kind of get tired of this whole thing like actually, this allegory is not one-to-one. Yes, I know. That's not the point. I'm not
Yeah,
saying
no,
this is
I'm
like
not.
reality.
Yeah, it's just
I'm
there's
saying
elements of it that I see
in
reflected in her character, even if it's not a
in the
one to
same
one. Like,
in the same way I felt Baravia in Superman was a clear allegory for like what Israel is doing to
I do
Palestine.
want
At
to
least that
quickly
was
mention
my
this actually. I don't think I knew about this by the time we made that episode. I'm pretty sure James Gunn has like explicitly stated that it's not meant to be. So I will just take that at
I
face value for now, like, because I don't want to say
I
he's
understand.
lying, but like, I don't know, like, I definitely read it that way. Maybe that's just because of where
Yeah,
my
I
mind
read it
goes.
that way. I felt it fit pretty much with that situation. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if James Gunn is saying that because there's clearly a lot of people in Hollywood that get really pissy or like biased about it. So he's just playing dumb. Like, I have no idea what you're talking about to
Yeah, it's
throw off like
possible. I just don't want to
the
assume
shitty
that,
people.
like, I'm not going to assume
Fair.
that he's lying out the gate. Like,
Yeah. At the very least, if he's lying, then damn, he did a really good job without even trying of connecting it to a real world issue.
yeah,
At
for
least in
sure,
terms
for
of
sure.
allegory. Yeah, it's to me, it kind of reminds me of like I've thought of doing this as like a bit in one of my videos where I don't know the context, but I've thought about talking about like bisexual something related to bisexuality in media at some point, and kind of my experience with being bi and like how I realized that and how it's a whole thing I could make again, I could make a video on it and probably will at some point. But one idea I've had as a joke is like talking about the people who unironically say things like, like bisexuality is just being gay, but you're pretending to be straight. It's like, no, motherfucker. In my head, I'm like, okay, hey, dumbass, you know how herbivores eat plants and carnivores eat meat and omnivores can eat both? Well, straight people like this and gay people like this. What do you think bi people are like? And yes, I know
I
it's
mean,
not a
in
perfect
keeping with the
allegory.
food, in keeping with the food analogy, we eat both pussy and cock.
Yeah, yes, exactly. And regardless, we eat ass. So it's like,
That's true.
and also some
And not
people
all
might
of
say,
us. Of
well,
course, there's some people who are like asexual and on that whole spectrum, but like
true.
you know what I'm talking about.
I'm
I just said
specifically
that for a
referring to
soundbite.
Yeah, I'm specifically referring to bi people. Yes. And on top of that, I will say some people might try to say well, actually that's not a good comparison because it's about food, which is a thing you need to survive versus sexuality, which is just a preference of pleasure. And yes, that is true. But counterpoint, if you actually look into I didn't know this until very recently because of until I watched a video by Casual Geographic about it. If you really get into the minutia of like what makes a herbivore and carnivore, there's actually a lot more gray area than you think, and a lot more animals that, if pushed, are more omnivorous than you think.
That is
So,
interesting. I need to look into
yeah,
that.
like let's just say, I will warn you, sometimes it does get dark, but yeah, there are times where some animals, if they really need to survive, can kind of swing the other way. It really just depends on, like, I know some animals, I think their stomachs are more designed for a specific form of food. That's why, like, for example, carnivores are more attuned to eating meat. But there are times where carnivores will, eat plants. Their coyotes have done it plenty of time. Coyotes are more omnivorous for sure. Bears are omnivores, of course, and they're carnivorous. But there are cases where herbivores have sometimes eaten meat. Like there was actually one story I remember from when I was a kid. There was this Indian elephant, this female that killed like 17 people in a village, and after they killed her and then they like cut her open, they found out she had eaten some remains from the bodies. And it
Nah, that's
was
crazy.
and it turns out the reason he knows what drove her to that, but it's guessed that it was because of it, there's some concerns that it was out of quote unquote elephant vengeance in a sense because she had lost a calf to, I think, like humans protecting a sugarcane or poachers or something one night, and she was obviously very angry and bitter toward humans. It's a very sad story. Now mind you, I learned about this from an Animal Planet TV show, and Animal Planet sensationalization shows about, man eaters aren't always the most accurate, but I did find it interesting, and there are cases now where, especially with deer, it's like yeah, there are cases where herbivores will eat some weird shit. It's like I joked in my I made a joke about this in my Alistair video where I'm like, deer are herbivores and don't eat any. You show the Casual Geographic video where he talks about this. You show a picture of a deer with a human bone in its mouth from some like remains that were left in a forest, and I'm like,
Dude,
yo,
if
what
I
the
saw
fuck?
if I saw that, I would be running so fast, dude. Like,
Yeah, it's
it's one
oh
of
my
those
gosh,
unsettling, uncanny valley things that just doesn't make any sense and it freaks you out.
yeah. On that note, Fantastic Four and K-pop Demon Hunters. What a detour. But
I
yeah,
know,
I will
right?
say I don't really have much else to talk about. I mean, I just love
Neither
these
do I.
movies. Like there's
Yeah.
I highly recommend that. If you somehow watched this without watching these movies beforehand, I'm gonna be blunt. The fuck are you doing? Go
Yeah,
watch
you really
them.
just
Like
instead of watching the movies organically, you just listen to two fucking dumbasses talk about them for 3 hours. What are you doing?
yes, you should go watch these movies. They're good, or at least we think they're great. Like it,
Exactly.
and maybe
I mean,
maybe
we always
Fantastic
have correct
Four,
opinions.
right? And maybe Fantastic Four isn't everybody's cup of tea, but K-pop Demon Hunters seems to be most people's cup of tea. So fuck it, go with it. I mean, look, I'm sure there's going to be somebody at some point that watches. There probably already are. I'm sure there's going to be people that watch the movie and be like, actually, this thing that's popular is not perfect," because that happens with
Obviously, it's not
every anime.
perfect, but like, it's really
Right. And
great.
I also
Like,
I'm getting kind of sick of having in the back of my mind to feel like I have to clarify the whole it's not perfect, but like yes. Why do I have like I kind of hate that my brain is hardwired
I know,
to
right? Like,
insist upon
oh, no shit, nothing's perfect, bruh. Like,
it gets to a
like
point
the
where it's
point is
like
that it's an
who
amazing
fucking
movie,
cares?
not like a flawless one. You know?
Right. And I hate this idea where if you have to ask like who cares toward a criticism, people are like, "Oh, so you're against like valid criticism of this thing." It's like, "No, motherfucker. I'm just acting like why the fuck should I care if it doesn't affect the whole of a movie?" Like, "Oh, this thing is not perfect because there was one element that could have been better." I'm like, "Okay, and the rest of this still works." Like I don't know. That's something that was just a
Yeah,
side
it's
tangent,
like
but
I think that
that's
Celine
been on my
needed more
mind.
time on screen, but that doesn't mean the movie sucks. Like,
Right. If anything, most of my problems with the movie are just I wanted more of it. Like
right?
that's really what
Yeah,
it comes down to.
I
It's
would have
just
liked
it
to
was
see those
so
deleted scenes.
yes, it's just that a lot of the movie was so great that I wanted more of it or elaborate or like
Yeah,
different
it's generally
scenes
a pretty
showing you
good
stuff.
thing. Like, if your main problem is that you just needed more of something. Like,
Exactly.
I'd rather
So
want more of something than have too much of something and be frustrated with it.
yes, or be left watching a scene like, God damn it, this could have been
And
so
that's
much
also a nice thing
more.
about Fantastic Four. I'm not sure if I directly mentioned this, but the fact that it has like a short runtime as well, like comparatively with other Marvel movies, really allows like the story to pack a punch in like a really concise amount of time. Like it didn't feel like we were
Yeah.
meandering for like any amount of time with that movie either. Like
Yeah, no, I thought some people said the pacing. I think some people said they felt the pacing was a little fast. I disagree. I thought the pacing was like perfectly concise for
it
what
was
that film
perfect for
was
the
going
movie it
for.
was, or not perfect, but like it was ideal for the movie it was, which is also the same word as perfect, but that's a synonym. But the point is, it works for the movie. Like,
Yeah. And sometimes you just got to accept that something is perfect because it is as it is with flaws and all. Like it that's at least that's
exactly.
how I go
Like for
about it with stuff.
example, apparently there was concept art of Bobby that had him like ripped for some reason, and
Yeah.
my friends and I talked about that, and we were like, "Well, I'm glad they didn't do that because Bobby is perfect the way he is."
Yeah, exactly. So,
And
in
that's a perfect
conclusion, these
metaphor for
movies are
this.
yeah, in conclusion, I think these movies are bangers. They have me very excited for both Marvel Studios and Sony Pictures Animation. I have to say, I'm really proud of Sony. Like they've
Sony
really
stepped up
turned
their
around.
game. Like
Yeah, they've turned
Spider
around their
Verse,
image.
Mitchell's versus the Machines. Um, I mean, I heard Wish Dragon was
Friggin'
pretty good, and like you said, and
yeah,
also
Witch Dragon's good.
I
They also
heard
made
that
Vivo,
I heard that that was
an
good.
animated. Yeah, I watched Vivo. It's pretty good. It's not like the most groundbreaking thing ever, but it has a great emotional hook going for it, and the songs are great. Like I mind you, those songs are by the music of the movie is by Lin-Manuel Miranda, and he brings a lot of his Lin-Manuel Miranda isms to it. But and I will say, I that's actually something a lot of people criticized Mufasa because with Lin-Manuel's music, you can tell he was just brought into like insert songs where they wanted him to, as opposed to bake them more into the narrative, like what happened with Moana and Encanto. Vivo is firmly on the Moana and Encanto side, where where like Lin is directly involved with the story. He plays the main character. This is, I believe, like his baby as like in terms of animated movies. So he had like great control over it, and that is translated well into the text and the lyrics. It's a very charming, entertaining film. A little obnoxious at times, but it's good. And yeah, and even then, it's nice to think about like how Sony they really did like kind of fall off for a bit with their animation, but they picked themselves back up because they started with Surfs Up, which is a penguin surfing movie that I've heard nothing but good things for. It's apparently like a mockumentary animated film,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
supposed to be great. But then
Too
they
bad
made
it
the
never
open
got a
season
sequel.
movies. Yeah, but then they made the open season movies, which got progressively worse and more tired from the sound of it. Even if the first film had a tiny bit of charm to it. And then of course, now mind you, they also made the if I remember correct, they also helped make the Hotel Transylvania movies. I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
that.
they did. They did.
Yeah,
And those
and
have
I
some
thought those
charm to
were all.
them, even though they do have a lot of problems. Like,
Yeah, I think I of them, yeah, the first one it still holds up really well. The second one is good. It just has some little things that really bug me. I actually like the third one way more than most people, but it has some similar problems to the second one. The main issue with the Hotel Transylvania movies is that every time they introduce a new character in these movies, they take more and more of a backseat in the plot with each sequel. So we had Johnny in the first film. He takes a backseat in the sequel to focus on like Drac and Dennis, even though it's Johnny's son. But then in the third movie, they focus on Amelia, the new love interest character for Drac. But then Dennis is kind of resorted to a little subplot. And now, to my knowledge, I have not seen the fourth one. I don't think it does this, but the main plot loops back around to being about Johnny and Drac having like swapped monster and human forms in a sense. So I don't know, maybe they fixed it at the end, but I didn't hear great things about Transformania, so I don't know. But yeah, I think Sony has had a rocky history. I don't think honestly, aside from the Emoji Movie, I can't really think of anything else in Sony's history where I'm like, okay, I fucking hate this. Even the open season movies, I don't think they're good from what I've seen of them, but they're at least kind of funny. Like there's sort of this ironic enjoyment to them. At the very least, without the open season movies, we don't get one of my favorite memes of all time, the Freddy Fazgot meme. We don't, which mind you, that animation of Boog dancing in that movie, like shaking his ass, that's how we got the Among Us twerking animation. So,
Lamau? Is that
like,
true?
I'm pretty sure that Among Us animation was rotoscoped over Boog from open season throwing it back. I can't confirm it, but they are so similar in like motion and direction. And yes, I'm saying this seriously about an ass meme. Like
Oh my
I
god.
I would not be surprised if it was partially rotoscoped. But yeah, Sony, I really am proud of
I
them.
mean, they
I am
also made
so
the
excited.
Smurfs movies, right? They've made all of them. Or maybe it's
Oh
Paramount who
God.
mostly makes them, but that Sony is
To
involved.
be fair, oh yeah, and oh yeah, Smurfs the Lost Village. I did not see that. I will say. I heard it was all right, just kind of mid with some pretty animation at times. Um, but I'm at the very least, I'm sure honestly it's better than the new Smurfs film from everything I've heard.
And the first
Uh,
two as well.
right. Yeah, I don't count the first two. Those are live action. Those are shitty live
But they
action with
do have
bad
animation
CGI.
in them, and Sony Pictures Animation was behind the animation, so they're still technically counted as movies from Sony Pictures Animation. It's just not full animation. It's mostly not
True.
animation.
Yeah, but the point is, yeah, with this movie, I'm very excited to see what Sony does next. If we get a K-pop Demon Hunter sequel, I'm totally open for that. Just don't force it if the idea isn't coming together or needs more time to cook. Because I know that was a big
Exactly. You
criticism
gotta
of
throw it
that was
together
a big,
like Huntrix does with their songs. They always have a good
right.
banger.
Yeah, that was a big criticism, for example, of Frozen 2. How it felt like that movie kind of listen, I actually like Frozen 2 a lot more than most people. I agree though that it's messy, and when you watch the behind the scenes information about the show, you can tell everybody working on it cared about it, but they needed more time to put it together. They were crunching pretty bad in a few spots. And you can to put in perspective, right? In Frozen 2, like there's the whole there's a plot point regarding like Elsa following a magic voice that's luring her into the unknown. They were still having conversations about like, okay, who is the voice that's leading Elsa 9 months out from release? Uh, uh, Listen, hi, animator here who's at least done some animation writing for school. Pro tip, maybe don't have what is part of the thesis of your movie still up in the air 9 months out from release if it's a 2-year big production like a Disney movie, because that's not great. Needless to say, for the story team or the
I will
songwriters.
add, I believe K-pop Demon Hunters took almost 10 years to fully create from conception.
Right. I think I heard something about that. Like it was like conceived like nine
These
months,
movies
like nine
need
years,
to have time in the
years.
oven, okay? Is what I'm
Yes.
trying to say. And they
To put in
need to
perspective,
have stable production processes.
yes. To put in perspective, like Frozen. Obviously, that movie came out in 2013. Its standard production was probably close to like 2 years or whatever. But the idea of an Ice Queen movie at Disney had been floated around since Walt was alive. Like that's how long it took to get a Disney Ice Queen movie made. So, like, props to K-pop Demon Hunters for waiting it out all those 9 years. Like, I'm sure it was like grueling waiting for the idea to get the proper springboard to take off. But it was worth it in the end, I think. I still feel bad that they apparently had to cut some stuff out and they couldn't fully express everything they wanted to in the narrative. I would like to see those deleted scenes, I agree, but I am still very happy with the movie we got, and I'm excited to see what Sony does in the future.
I
And
believe
I'm
there are
also
some
excited to
deleted
see what
clips that are
Marvel.
actually available, like an extended, like, mystery Saja verse from Your Idol that just keeps showing up
Huh.
on YouTube Shorts, but not all
That
the
might
deleted
also
scenes.
that makes sense because the full version of Your Idol is available online. It's not in the movie. The full song is not in the movie. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that I'm sure we'll get more stuff coming out soon. I've already seen concept art in like times when I'm looking for fan art of the film. Um yeah, point is either way, I'm very happy for Sony. I'm glad they have this big banger on their plate. Not sure how to feel about this for Netflix because on the one hand, again, I like that Netflix is making amazing animated content. On the other hand, if they are seriously willing to be like, let's already consider a live action treatment when the movie just fucking came out, it's like, I don't trust corporate Netflix, is really at the end of the day.
No.
Netflix
No.
really is a tool that can be used for good and evil in a span of seconds. Like, 1 minute they're helping to save Sesame Street, the next they're peddling like AI
And Nimona,
announcements or
too.
some.
They saved Nimona,
Yeah.
basically.
Yes.
So that's another great
But
animated movie that I should talk about sometime. I did make a video on it once, but yeah,
yeah,
it's
no,
a
I like.
banger.
I wasn't as captivated by it as other people were, but I did really like it, and I'm glad it found the audience that it did. And I hope that this movie keeps doing that as well. And again, Also happy for Fantastic Four. For the first time
Yeah,
in a minute,
and
I am like,
genuinely kind of happy for Marvel, which has been difficult for me
yeah,
these last few years because of how, like, I don't know, disjointed things have felt. Like, getting two bangers
yeah,
in a row is, like, genuinely a great, like, moment.
yeah.
Because
And I also,
I was talking about this with Lobato, my friend Lobato, like, just a couple days ago. Um, I don't think there's been, like, a two movie stretch in the MCU since, like, Endgame, where, like, both movies in a row have been, like, bangers, or, like, really, really good.
yeah,
Like, some movies in Phase 4 and 5 have been good, but, like, I wouldn't say there's, like, a two film streak, because for everyone that's, like,
yeah,
really good, there's a mid one or there's a bad one. Like, you know, but
right.
with Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four, I agree that both of those are like great movies, and we might finally get like a record going with
Right.
these movies.
I'm also excited for Spider-Man Brand New Day because that apparently they just started shooting like today or yesterday. So I'm excited to see how that goes. They're it's gonna be interesting. I was so glad to hear um that oh interesting. I just saw something on my phone. It says Ryan Coogler's Black Panther 3 is reportedly causing excitement internally at Marvel Studios. So they're getting ready to go on Black Panther 3 apparently. I am ready. The Black Panther movies are some of my favorites in the MCU. I'm also speaking of animation, I'm also excited. They have a new cartoon coming out. I guess it's dropping tomorrow. Apparently it was going to drop like at the end of August, but they're dropping it tomorrow. Eyes of Wakanda, a new animated series about like different Wakandan war dogs going out in the world and doing missions for their country in different time periods. It looks very interesting. It's a different animation style from What If, which I'm very happy about. I do really want to see the action in motion. It looks a little bit chopped up in the trailers, but I am very curious to see how it goes. It also has an Iron Fist in it. Welcome back to the fold, I guess. It's not Danny Rand, but it is an Iron Fist, so that's going to be interesting. The animation looks sick. And then for Spider-Man Brand New Day as well, I'm also very interested because they're gonna have John Bernthal's Punisher in it, and I'm very excited about that because he was important in Daredevil Born Again. And without spoiling Daredevil Born Again, the end of that show kind of pisses me off because I watched it and I was like, oh, you know they want Spider-Man in this bitch, but Sony won't play nice. Like, I'm done with Sony's rights bullshit with Spider-Man. They need to get their fucking act together and just give it up. Like, put the bag down. Madam Web is not going to work, Sony. It's over. Um, they like keep making Spider-Verse, obviously, and the PlayStation games, but give it the fuck up with these live-action villain without Spider-Man movies. It's just not working anymore, especially with Venom being over. The trilogy's done. So, but yeah, point is with Marvel, I'm excited again. And less in the sense of like I'm going to be optimistic going forward and see what happens like I was previous stuff. This is where I'm like, no, I'm genuinely excited and think whatever comes next has the potential to be truly great. So, and even then like I don't think I've been disappointed really with Marvel it for a second. Like I loved Deadpool and Wolverine. I really liked Agatha all along, surprisingly. I'm really happy with how that show turned out. It's got problems, but I do like Brave New World still. I do like that movie. I completely understand why people don't like it or even hate it, but I did genuinely enjoy that film. And then yeah, Thunderbolts, I loved. Really liked Ironheart. Not perfect, but I did really like it. And appreciate what it did for Riri. And I hope it gets a second season after that ending cliffhanger, but I don't know how that'll go given how they just kind of dumped it with like a tight window for marketing. I don't love how Marvel has been treating that show or how it kind of just got lost in the shuffle of like their restructure. But then yeah, Fantastic Four First Steps, a movie that I went in with slightly reserved expectations, albeit optimistic ones, and had them exceeded. So yeah, I'm excited for both Marvel and Sony Animation and just animation and superhero films in general. I'm sure there's still going to be plenty of bullshit that comes our way, but I'm optimistic about the future. And
Movies are great.
yeah, that's really all I got to say.
All right,
Yeah, I'm
everyone.
kind of
Thanks
ready.
for being here, and I'll see you later.
Yeah, see you around.
Peace.
Peace.
Oh wait, I should probably mention that your Kevin's socials will be listed in the description. If you
Oh
want to
yeah,
check him out. His
yeah.
channel is
Socials
just
in the
called American Elephant. So
yeah.
there you
At
go.
Elephant Power Productions, we got video essays and animations. If you're into that kind of stuff, yeah.
That's about it, though.
Go
Yeah.
watch these. Go watch good movies. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.